Continuing coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election here in Accra. I am Kemini Amano. We are live on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. Joining our conversation now is Ebenezer Doku. He's Regional Research and Elections Officer of the NPP. We already have Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre over Zoom with us. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Ebenezer, you are just joining this conversation. I'll start off with you. Is this election shaping up the way the NPP imagined?
Okay, good evening to all your viewers and to your listeners. We before today thought we would have done better than this. Unfortunately, the people of Ayawaso East have spoken. We are still collating our results, but from all indications, we can deduce from what the results are that Jamal would be the MP elect for the people of Ayawaso East. And we did our best. Our best was not enough, and we move on.
Is this an admission that you don't think that by the end of collation, your candidates would be anywhere near the top of the list?
Yes, I mean, as politicians who want to do right, once you see what the results are, I mean, it is always good to let your people know.
What do you? Right. What do you think may be responsible for this performance?
Like we all are aware, I mean, the incumbency advantage was played. The people were told that yes, their government is in office or in power, and that they have a few goodies for them. We are also aware it is alleged that. Some of the voters were induced to go and vote for the NDC. I have not seen it. I'm saying
well, but if you haven't seen it, why are you saying it?
I mean, you as a journalist might have also heard same.
No, I haven't. I haven't. Ebenezer, hang on. We started nicely.
So
Ebenezer, hold your thoughts for me.
Also hold on.
No. The only person who can say that is me. And I say you should hang on and listen. Hang on and listen. No. See, Ebenezer, here's the thing. It's important we understand that the conversations we have here inform our people. What we do not want to do is to misinform or mislead. Now, you are telling me of a third party hearsay, which means that you do not know for sure. As I sit in the studio, hang on. Let me land. Ebenezer, hang on. Let's have a great conversation, right? As I sit in the studio, I do not know that such a thing happened, and I won't repeat it. So I'd respectfully ask you to withdraw that. Let's scratch that out of the conversation.
That if you were listening to me, I'm saying that has been withdrawn. So let's move on.
Oh, I'm glad it's withdrawn. Now let's talk about what you think may have affected the performance tonight. So
I was making the point that the incumbency advantage was played. Nima, and for that matter, Ayawaso East, for the past 34 years has been an NDC-dominated area. So it is not surprising that the NDC has won. And so we take it in our stride that yes, we did our best, and our best was not enough.
I see. Could it have been the candidate, perhaps?
You mean our candidate?
Perhaps you didn't put across a strong candidate?
I have been part of the campaign in the last 2-3 weeks. I can tell you we had a very good candidate, a candidate who comes from Nima, a candidate who has lived with them. It is just the case that, yes, it is not an NPP seat. We only try to see what we could do. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Does the projected percentage of what could be the NDC's win give you hope for that constituency as far as future elections are concerned?
Can you come again? Your line is not too, but I tried to.
Indeed, I'll try again.
You are asking for future elections.
So what we are hearing is that the performance of the NDC in this election is not, is in terms of the margin of lead, it's not like in elections past. Given that this is also a by-election, we're putting that into consideration. But does that give you hope as the opposition party that you could put up a better fight in the future?
For sure. We are aware of Ablekuma North. It is a seat the NDC has never won. Dominic-Wabenya, the NDC has never won. But with time and increasing the performances of their party, today they won those seats. We also believe strongly that with the candidate that we have and nurturing him and nurturing the constituency, we could do better in the next elections of 2028 and possibly winning the seat with our candidates. We only wait to see the performance of our brother, His Excellency Baba Jamal, and then in 2028 we'll come back and asking the people to vote for our candidate in 2028.
Ebenezer, what do you say to people who think that the NPP shouldn't have bothered because this wasn't your race to win?
I disagree with them. I disagree vehemently with them. Like I said earlier, there were seats that the NDC never won. By the time they won them. So I mean, in Ghana and per the history of elections in Ghana, there's nothing like any seat, any safe seat anymore. It is just that you need to put your best foot forward, and with time we'll see how it goes.
What are the take-home lessons from tonight?
We are learning to. I mean, we are all aware of the fact that the time given for campaign was a bit short, even though it is for both parties. Yes, but I believe that if we had some time to tell the people who are candidates and what we could do, we could have done a bit more better. I mean, we'll sit as a party, look at where we did well and where we didn't do well, and then we'll come up with a comprehensive report as to what the results tells us, and then in the future, maybe certain mistakes would be corrected, and some other things will be done better.
Ebenezer, I appreciate you talking to us tonight. Thank you so much. Ebenezer, absolutely. Ebenezer Doku is Greater Accra Regional Researcher of elections for the NPP. He's just told us that it's not surprising that the NDC won. This is a safe seat for the party. They took part in the elections. They have taken their lessons home. Of course, we won't allow him to say the things that he couldn't back with evidence based on hearsay. If we find that with evidence, we will report. Until then, we cannot allow hearsay to be passed on as facts on this channel. And I'll bring in now Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere. Well, my understanding is that Dr. Asante-Okyere is off, but Alfred, we've been talking a lot about, the NPP's performance, and he says that, look, I see the data. I think that tonight, like many nights past, is an NDC night. Not surprising, is it?
Well, definitely not surprising. If what the provisional data that Rashid Tanko Computer, the Deputy Director of IT Elections for the NDC, put out earlier is anything to go by, the NPP is within their bracket of votes consistently in that particular constituency. Also is since 1996. Since 1996, they've averaged between 30 to 35%. What we're hearing now, based on what Rashid Tanko himself put out, that their candidate got over 10,000, as against the MPP's Baba Ali 4,000. That's about 33% thereabout. Remember that Musa Dankwa projected 75% for Baba Jamal.
Right.
The NDC themselves, based on their provisional results, are looking about 63, maximum 64%, all things being equal. That clearly tells you that Umar Sanda Mohammed took something away from the NDC. That's without a doubt. Absolutely. What is left to be seen is exactly how much, in terms of votes, he took from the NDC in this by-election. And whether that is going to be consistent with Musa Danquest's 2.7% that he gave Omar Sanda Mohammed, which we have all roundly, raised our own, doubts about, taking into consideration the initial performance that we've seen him put up. But the NPP has been truthful. In fact, they've been consistent with the reality that they are faced with right now. Clearly, they've also been doing their own coalition. Over the period. Because if you listen to the man we just spoke to, Mr. Doku, Ebenezer Doku, who is a former MCE for Adenta, by the way, now he's the regional director of elections. They said they've monitored what happened and they've seen the trend and it is consistent with what they have put out. But what he says is an outlier for me that I pick out is that their candidate is a good candidate. They wanted to, test his mettle.
Test the waters.
To see how much of a showing that he will give. Because this, Baba Ali was not the one who contested for the NPP in the 2024 elections. That tells you they've done their own groundwork. Baba Ali being the first-time contestant, and he polls over 30%, if that is the provisional results that we are seeing is anything to go by. It clearly gives you an idea of what they intend to do going into election 2028. If they're going to build on the strength of Baba Ali today in the by-election, because a by-election portends a number of things. It is not an election that you would want to really base a strategy on, because by-election, the outliers are too many. One, voter turnout. We've seen the lowest voter turnout in this constituency since its creation today, with what has happened now. And that's because it's a by-election. We've also seen the fact that the NDC had to contend with a member of their party who is a grassroots person, one-time assemblyman, a man who also influenced the party's victory in previous elections, also now deciding to go as an independent candidate, which had its own impact on the outcome of today. We also saw the period that this election is taking place, the Ramadan as well, also impacting on the voter turnout and the outcome. So all of these dynamics, if you are a party looking to build on the showing of your candidate going into the general election, which is just some 3 years away from now, you'll take into consideration all of that. And as to whether the outcome of today paints the true picture of your candidate's strength and how that influences your policy, your strategy going into election 2028. Take nothing away from Alhaji Baba Jamal, because you know what, he is an experienced politician. He is one that if you're writing the history of politics in this country, you'll not go beyond him. He has his own things with legal battles as a result of elections. Akwatia is one place that he had his own battle with the law, and he became a member of parliament for the Akwatia constituency. From the eastern region, he's back here to the Greater Accra region to contest the Ayawaso East constituency. So one of the narratives that we had the NPP put out ahead of today was that he is somebody who has been imported, to the constituency. But guess what? If you speak to the people on the ground, they say that he has been a massive influence in the constituency. He's been helping the people there, in terms of support. He has some loan scheme that he's been giving to the people there to advance their businesses and so on. So they know what he's done, right? And he had confidence, because to leave an ambassadorial position, to want to come and contest this by-election,
which he says pays better.
Absolutely, and when sometimes when I hear people say that MP is a sacrificial job, and I ask myself, so you spend that much to do a sacrificial job? That's a very interesting one. I want to actually understand how things play out. But then again, look, if the NPP has conceded today, right now, to you, Kemini, that they believe Baba Jamal has won, it makes our job easier. Right? We're only waiting for the Electoral Commission,
the official declaration,
tell us exactly what the margin of victory is. But if you look at the trend in the constituency, look at the year 2000, and Joseph was referencing that earlier. The year 2000 was that year that the NDC had the lowest votes in the Ayawaso East, even though they won. They won with less than 45% of the valid vote cast.
Is that a Kofi Wayo year?
That is the Kofi Wayo year, and that's the point I'm coming to. Kofi Wayo won with over 40% of the valid vote cast in that year for the NPP. Kofi Wayo, the maverick politician, we know him. I think if we eventually formed the United Renaissance Party after that election, he left the NPP. But Kofi Wayo's influence in Ayawaso East constituency is one that you cannot write the history of that constituency without taking notice of. That is the only period in the 2000 election that the NPP came close to winning that.
I mean, that result was very tight.
Absolutely.
Very tight.
You know, and so if you're thinking that if the NPP has stayed that ship of Kofi Wayo into 2004, there could have been an upset. There could have been. All things being equal.
That's why I find the question that Kemini asked, that it could be the candidates the party had selected. I had earlier made the point that the NPP comparatively had a smooth primary. They basically decided that Baba Ali is a gentleman they are putting forward. The question would be that some form of analysis would have to be done to answer substantively whether he's the party's best foot forward. And how would they do that analysis? Is the reason why I come back to the same point that I always believe in, that political parties exist to contest elections. The Constitution says that electoral processes shall conform to democratic principles. My preference always will be for the parties to allow the people to vote to decide who leads them. We saw what happened in the Baba Jamal situation. They almost wanted him out. I mean, basically, following the outcome of the election, the allegations of vote buying and everything, there were suggestions that the entire electoral process should be annulled. There were suggestions that possibility of the candidate to emerge victorious being barred from even participating in another one. All through all, they allowed the will of the people to carry it through, and we've seen it play out. He's emerged victorious. I mean, there are still questions surrounding it. But the point being made is that the MPP has not had the opportunity to test the popularity of Baba Ali within their own fold. Yet, they endorsed him and put him out there in the public domain. Now the outcome has come. Yes, Baba Jamal is not going to hit 70% from all what we've seen. At best, if the results are any different, it will be 65. Because the NDC told us they've done collation, he's still within the 63% region. Which begs the question that how would the NPP be doing its own analysis in that regard? The NDC as well, will Baba Jamal be allowed to lead the party into the subsequent elections? Or there will be another opportunity where it will be a free-for-all participation? Will the spouse of the former MP, for instance, want to throw a hat into the race if there's going to be such a contest once again? But I think that the path of the NDC may slightly be a bit clearer because obviously there will be elections that will take place. But for the MPP, they will still have to test their internal processes to decide who would lead them. And maybe Baba Ali may not even be the one who is going to emerge victorious.
But that's probably a point which is contestable, because you know what? For any political party, especially worth its salt, like the NPP, to settle on a candidate for an election, you know, every political party has to test their strength in any election, even if they don't have the history on their side.
Gentlemen, we'll come back.
But I just wanted to conclude on this point, that the NPP may have done its work before putting up Baba Ali.
Well, I hope so, because I hold a different opinion. I hold a different opinion about the work they may have done, and I don't think much was done. I think that, you know, and I'm the one asking for time to talk to our next guest, but I think that the NPP knew what the outcome will be and didn't put a lot of serious work into this. I may be wrong. It's not a matter of fact. This is just my opinion, and that is why we see the outcome we see tonight for the NPP's performance in the race. I didn't get the impression that a lot of thinking, a lot of intention had gone into this election.
Will be to point you to the results to say that the outcome is consistent with what they were getting anyways. Yeah. But on the bit about whether to go a bit back to what the point Alfred made, which you clarified in a different manner, about whether they did the internal work properly to ensure that this is their best foot forward. I would argue quite strongly that Kemini is right to an extent that possibly the party just did not want to have any internal cost in this process. Just said that what is back there. Alternatively, it could be true, as Alfred is advancing, that they would have done their permutation and see that this is potentially their best foot forward. It is the more reason why I would always argue that they should simply have had the primary take place.
It will be very, very politically pedestrian to just put out somebody because you want to avoid a cost.
But then again, understand the context, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's come back to this. Let's come back to this debate. But we'll bring in now Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin. He's a political marketing strategist. And Doc, my first question will be who is learning the biggest lesson tonight?
All right, good evening to you, good evening to viewers, and good evening to the panelists. I think that the one to learn the biggest lesson, has to do with the NDC as a political party. The reason, I think, is straightforward, and I know that some of the panelists in there have touched on one or two things. The reason has to do with the fact that if you compare the data coming in, to previous by-elections from 2023, the Kumawu by-election, the Asenov by-election, the Egeso Apetia, the recent Tamale Central one, to the Ayawaso one, you will get to know that in the history of Ghana's democracy, that is the 1992, democratic journey, what we are hearing, if the EC is to confirm it, then of course it is the lowest ever by election in recent times. And the question is, what happened? Obviously, reasons have been given. Issues about the Ramadan fast, issues regarding the weekdays, and other things. But the question then is that if we are to look at some of these things, then of course it will be very important, for political parties in future, to be able to have a very comprehensive timetable with the EC to schedule by elections. But then I also feel that irrespective of the religious, explanations, underpinning the low turnout, what it also means is that I feel that the NDC could have done more,
right,
with regards to shaping up the enthusiasm of their supporters, to turn out massively to vote. It is good seeing that in spite of all that has happened, Baba Jamal seems, to be leading with some 75%. Whilst, the one coming second, that is the MPP candidate, seems to also be having around 21%.
Well, we're still waiting for the final declaration.
Yes, I am speculating based on the figures I have.
Oh, right.
All right. Yeah. So, if that is confirmed, then what it means is that compared to the national election, in 2024, it means that the NDC has depreciated by 3%, and the MPP has equally depreciated around 7%. And what it means is that by-elections probably may have its own dynamics. But again, it is very important that the strategies of, the political parties, especially, in this case, the NDC,
right,
shouldn't have, gone that way. But again, probably to bring out ensure that they are able to get out the votes more, so that it will confirm their superiority.
Doc, hold on for me. I'll bring in now to join our conversation, Greater Accra Regional Chair of the NPP, Divine Otu Agohom. Divine, I appreciate your time tonight. We've spoken to Ebenezer, who's your Director of Research and Elections, who's conceded that based on the figures that you have, the NPP will not be declared winner at the end of the day today. However, my question is, did you expect the margins to be like this?
Can you hear me?
Divine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, Divine, not to you, Dr. Boahene. This is for Divine. Divine, who is the Greater Accra Regional Chair of the NPP. Divine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So, Divine, I'm asking, and in fact, my preamble to the question is the fact that Ebenezer Doku, who is your Director of Research and Elections, has already conceded that based on the figures that he has seen, the NPP will not be declared the winners of this by-election. My question to you as chairman of the party, did you expect the defeat to be this wide?
No, not at all. Especially considering the fact that there is an independent candidate who is an offshoot of the NDC. Our estimation was that if for nothing at all, he will be taking about 15 to 20% of the votes, because our research shows that he is quite a popular guy in the constituency. Unfortunately, I am in our collation room at the moment, and we have done 98 out of the 113, and the gentleman in question is hovering around 10.1%, Baba Jamal around 63%, and then our candidate around 25%. So that's quite surprising, though, but it's no news. NDC has, from the very beginning, been winning these constituencies. So if they are winning this time, we just have to accept and then congratulate the winner, Baba Jamal.
That sounds good. But Divine, are you telling me that your strategy was based on the independent candidate upsetting the votes of the NDC so that you could have a better performance?
Considering the fact that this is an NDC stronghold, and the elections over the years had always gone in favor of the NDC, we picked the candidate that we think that has the needed credential to be able to change the narrative in the constituency, and also for the fact that the NDC is having one of their own in the person of Umar Sanda going as an independent. We know definitely he will be taking, some percentage of the vote, which will give our candidate the advantage to be able to sail through. So we were expecting that we'll be getting about 37 to 40% of the vote. And if he is able to take some 15, if Umar Sanda is able to take some 15 to 20% of the vote, then definitely our candidate would have emerged the winner. So yes, it's a mix of strategy, a combination of all these factors that gives us the hope that we would have won the elections. But here we are. It's almost done, and Baba Jamal appears to be in a comfortable lead, as they may say.
I see. There's been a debate here in the studio where we've discussed whether or not the NPP put a lot of intention, put a lot of backing, a lot of its back into the candidates that was elected. There are those who have said that, listen, there should have been a primary to elect that candidate instead of the route that the party chose to appoint a candidate for this election. Was there a reason you did that?
Yes. Okay, thank you. The decision of the party to go with a consensus candidate, even up to this very moment, in my honest assessment, is the best of all decisions. You know, usually after primaries, there will be cracks, and the party will need time and extra effort to heal such cracks. We were in the process of electing our flag bearer, so time was not at our disposal. And also considering that this is a constituency where the NDC has, from the very beginning been winning till now, it means that, if you like, we are the underdogs of this constituency in this contest. And so we need to minimize conflict. And so we decided to settle on a consensus candidate. And I think that Baba Ali, by far, is the best. Our situation would have been worse if we had open nomination, gone for primaries, one person winning, others not happy, and we will need time and extra effort to be able to heal the constituency before the election. It would have been a different story. So we took them.
Why did the consensus think that Baba Ali was the best candidate for this race?
Well, there was a structure and a process that produced Baba Ali. The constituency party was asked to, nominate who they think would be the best candidate. The original party looked at it. We made a presentation at the National Executive Committee, and it was accepted. We were asked to engage the stakeholders within the constituency, and we did all that. So he's a candidate that almost everybody accepts, and that's why we are convinced that he's the best of candidates. In fact, actually, he's the best of candidates for this particular constituency at this material moment.
Indeed. Divine, I'll ask you the same question I asked Ebenezer, right? What lessons are you walking away from this election with for the next one?
I have personally spoken to some of the NDC guys within the constituency who think that 2024, we should have presented Baba Ali instead of the candidate that we presented in 2024. And if we had presented him in 2024 and then repeating him again at this time, the situation or the story would have been different. So early days yet, but I would recommend that there is a candidate that we need to keep and hopefully present again in 2028. And he will be able to, perform better than what it is. It's a difficult constituency for us. And so we worked so hard thinking that the material we have would have given us victory, but it didn't, turn out the way we anticipated. What that means is that we need to go back, and then come again, as they will say.
And in terms of that toughness of this constituency, what have you learned about differently in your approach to the constituency? What is new for you, the NPP, going forward?
All right. So that is what I'm saying, that not only in this constituency, but in other constituencies as well, because the party is in opposition. Our defeat in 2024 was quite a heavy one, and we need to strategically, position ourselves to, as much as possible, go into 2028 general elections with, selected and consensus candidates instead of opening nominations and allowing contests wholesale and having problems. We developing factions and having to be fighting among us as much as possible. If you look at even the presidential primaries that we just, finished, if you look at the level of intensity, the way we were hitting each other and all, it will be worse if we get down to the parliamentary primaries. And so if I were to be in a position to advise the party, I would say that largely we should select, candidates that can win the elections for us, or others who will be interested in contest.
Well, Divine, we'll end it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Divine Otu Agohom is Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the NPP. He's just given us his take on the NPP's projected performance in the Ayawaso East by-election underway. And this is our continuing coverage on TV3 and 392.7 FM. Dr. Bernard Tutu Boahene is a political marketing strategist. He's still here with us. Doc, we talked about the lessons that the NDC should have learned from this. We'll come back to it briefly, but because we've spoken to the NPP, I want to find out from you whether you get the impression, based on what he's told me so far, that true lessons have been learned on how to approach Ayawaso East constituency in future elections.
Yes, I think that is very important. Divine has admitted, and I think that that is the hallmark of a good politician. But there was something that he said that I think that if probably he would expect himself to wait it to be good for the party. The reason is that he made a point that talking to people in Ayawaso East, he got the sense that Baba Jamal should have been the candidate in 2024. And I am wondering why he said that, because the same number of registered voters with a low turnout and a high turnout in 2024, where the turnout in 2024 was around 61%. And from what we are hearing, the highest turnout probably for this ballot is going to be around 35-37%. Now, if that is going to happen, that is true, then obviously the late Baba did than probably.
Doc, you'd have to reposition yourself for me so I can hear all the words you speak, because it appears that sometimes I lose parts of your sentence. Dr. Bernard,
can you hear me now?
I can if it stays this way. Right, go on.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that the late Muhammad Charlie, had a good turnout of 61%. 61% of about 49,000, registered voters. And then what we are hearing is that probably in this term, by election, probably the turnout is going to be around 35 to 7%. Now, if that should happen, with the same number of registered voters, what it means is that turnout in this by-election is relatively low, and that what it means is that Baba Jamal and the NDC this time couldn't get, voters to turn out to vote. What it means is that the popularity of the late MP was more stronger than what is happening now. And so, for people to be telling Divine that they should have presented Baba Jamal in 2024, I'm a bit worried about that, assertion. But then I think that it was forthright in saying that lessons have been learned, and then future by-elections, the approach is going to be different. Complacency is the watchword, right? Because the Ayawaso seat appears to be, a safe seat for the NDC. Probably they took things for granted. And that is what probably has accounted for that low turnout. What it means is that if the MPP candidate was so popular,
right,
very much stronger on the ground, it could have turned out to be different. Again, what it also means is that if the independent candidate who came out of the NDC, was equally stronger, the game would have been different. All right. So, if you compare to what happened at Ayawaso, in the Ayawaso by-election, it became very competitive because the independent candidate who came out from the NPP was so much strong, very popular within the constituency, and it actually increased, competitiveness and voter turnout. So I think that some of these things are things that should be considered, in future elections.
Right.
And when some of these things are done and put in place, and with the right strategies, I think that we would be observing a kind of democracy, a kind of by-election that is very much competitive, and that would bring, some kind of strength to our democratic, journey.
Very well, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time here on this subject matter. Dr. Bernard Tutubuahene is a political marketing strategist. Divine Otu Agohom is chairman of the NPP in the Greater Accra region. We're still counting down to declaration of the results. So far, we've heard from the NPP side, which is conceded defeat. We've heard from the NDC as well, which has upheld their victory in that constituency. But all these are just projected lead figures, right? What we're waiting for now is the Electoral Commission to give us the true figures. And once again, we're having to wait a long time for the Electoral Commission to give us an electoral result. The parties already know where they stand. But the Electoral Commission, again, is taking this time. I'd rather think that they're taking their time to do it well. But at some point, Blake, it has to change. We need to get the results in real time. We need to understand what is going on. Because when the election ends at 5 p.m., in one constituency, it's almost 8 p.m., and we haven't declared results yet.
I mean, it's a conversation that we virtually have any time we do this by-election or whatever kind of election that takes place. Increasingly, we are seeing the political parties beating the Electoral Commission to it. Yes, we can hold brief for the Commission and say that unlike the political parties that have the luxury of making mistakes and going scot-free, I mean, we've had instances where political parties clearly losing an election have told us publicly that, well, they are in a comfortable lead, but we've not had that turned out not to be the case. So we've had all of that play out there, yet we tolerate that. And so the point being made is that, yes, we can hold brief for the Electoral Commission, but the delay is over the period becoming extremely problematic, especially for one constituencies. We've seen it in Akwatia. We've seen it over here as well. The NPP internal elections, yes, we saw at a point in time that it appeared they are waiting on the political party to give them clearance and all those things. This is a by-election, one constituency.
Absolutely. And I hope at some point, whatever they are piloting today, the electronic transmission will improve their ability to give us real-time election results. Because if the political parties are doing it, the question is, what technology are they using that they are able to get, accurate results?
I mean, we know those who do some of these internal things for the political parties. It's basically a smartphone and having an electronic system that once you scan the document and put the document in it, it inputs it in there for you. Then you have the real-time results that they are seeing play out there.
How are we able to do it before the Electoral Commission?
I mean, it's a big problem. There's no single result that the political parties input that's not from the EC. The EC are the ones who do the declaration. So they should be steps ahead.
I agree. On that note, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with more coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election. Remember that we are counting down to declaration. Don't go away.
and luxury paint. No be any painting be paint.
The Lozi acrylic paint.
Paint champion. When you are going to buy a paint, don't look left, don't look right. Go straight and grab the luxury and luxury paint. No be any painting be paint.
The Lozi acrylic paint.
In Ghana, our gold is more than a resource. It's our pride. And at Gold Board Jewelry, we celebrate that pride every day with craftsmanship that reflects who we are as Ghanaians. Introducing the Gold Board Jewelry Gold Tablet. Pure, certified, proudly Ghanaian gold. The best part, when you buy a Gold Board Jewelry tablet, you own it. You keep your gold with you, not with us. It's more than a jewelry. It's a smart investment for every Ghanaian who wants to secure their future. Gold Board Jewelry Gold Tablet. Own your gold. Own your future.
You should meet my best friend. She's the sweetest. Hey bestie, how's my hair?
Which one? The one on your head or the one in your comb? Chill. All you need is Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener. It has conditioning oils, so you can say goodbye to hair breakage.
Wow, love your hair. Really? Say goodbye to hair breakage with Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener.
Day by day men, strong and refined, the skincare you deserve. Dream.
When you are going to buy a paint, don't look left, don't look right. Go straight and grab the luxury and luxury paint. No be any painting be paint.
The Lozi acrylic paint.
Paint champion. When you are going to buy a paint, don't look left, don't look right. Go straight and grab the luxury and luxury paint. No be any painting be paint.
This is your Election Command Center. We are coming to you live from our studios here, TV3 and on 392.7 FM. I am Kemini Amano. If you're just joining us, it's our continuing coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election. Projected lead in that election, Baba Jamal. So far, the NPP has conceded on our channel that they will not be winning this election. And so we'll head to the grounds now. Mawena Egbeta is at the Collation Center where he's been observing events. Mawena, what do you have for us?
Right, and so we're still here. It's been quite the long, drawn process, really, in terms of how all of this is panning out, but still a number of polling stations to come through so that we can hit that 113 mark. We see the EC officials busy underway seeking to tabulate and put together the election results. As we speak right now, no officials from either of the NDC or the NPP present. I think at the last time we spoke to Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, he mentioned that the election was done and so they were out of their way. But this is what the process looks like. And so these are the officers, the presiding officers who are bringing in the pink sheets, which will be tabulated by the EC officials who are seated by the desks and are tabulating hardcore all of the data from the pink sheets. Now, from where they are seated, where quite a number of them, in excess of 20 plus more individuals, are still waiting to come to this table. They move to the seated area here, where they will then take turns. From there, they will get here where the EC officials are, and then their results will be put through. Let's try and speak to Mr. Tete, who is the Director of Research with the Electoral Commission, just briefly as well, and we'll engage him pretty shortly in a tad as to why we've seen what appears to be a delay of some sort, just quickly as well. But this is the process unfolding for you, and it's been very slow. I mean, if you engage quite a number of the journalists who've been experiencing the process as it's gone through, they're asking the question as to why it's delaying. But this is where we are now. Outside of the church premises, there's been loud blasting music, NDC songs, because you know what constituency we're in. Ayawaso East is a stronghold of the NDC where they've enjoyed massive support. They are outside celebrating. There have been chant and Jama songs, Baba Jamal and what have you, anticipating the announcement and the declaration by the officials of the Electoral Commission. The expectation as well is that Baba Jamal will make his way here because the NDC's Collation Center is, as I'm inside the hall here, I could literally throw a stone to the Collation Center of the NDC. And so under some 200 meters, if they decide to do the walk across the street, they will make their way here. And so officials, I'm sure, of the NDC will alert him, and then he will begin to make his way here when we're drawing the curtains down on collation. But this is what we know, and this is where we are at currently in terms of the activity here at the Collation Center that's in Kizito Primary School, Kemeni.
I see, Mawena, has any reason been given for the 3-hour wait for results?
That's one of the many things we'll seek to get from Mr. Tete, Fred Tete, I should say, not Tete, Fred Tete, who is now the Director of Research of the Electoral Commission. He's rightly being sought after right now because the concerns are across board, across all of the other media platforms who are here, seeking to get an explanation as to why the delay. And so when we lay hands on him, we'll get that explanation as well. But from what I can observe, the process has been slow, and they are going through the pace. There's an Excel sheet which is seeking to tabulate one after the other the results, and so from where I am even, I can begin to see some of the registered voters, total votes in ballot box, corresponding with the low voter turnout which we've seen across the numerous polling stations, the 113 polling stations in and around the Ayawaso East constituency. But they continue to punch away on their computers these details as we await Mr. Tete, who will give us a bit more in terms of an explanation. And I see some of the presiding officials who are just going to try and give us. Mr. Tete, just quickly, you're live on TV3. There's a concern that you have to look into the camera. There's a concern that the process has been a bit slow today. We're in Akwetia, we've been into a lot of places, but today happens to be a bit slow. Is there a reason why?
Are you sure it's slow?
Yeah, I mean, having experienced a few, the suggestion is that we've been here for a long time and we should be wrapping up about now.
What has happened is we have all the 113 presiding officers with their pin sheet here. So far, we've done past 62 polling stations, and we are progressing steadily. So it's better we do it accurately than rushing and then having issues, and that's what we are doing now.
But in terms of the EC's perspective as to everything that we've seen today, what will be your assessment?
Well, I think it's seamless, it's peaceful, and quite encouraging in terms of the environment, the atmosphere, and then the organization of the conduct of the poll. And security-wise, I think you can attest to the fact that everything went on very smoothly. The only challenge is the turnout, but you can't do anything about the turnout.
Synonymous to all by-elections we've witnessed?
Well, that's how it is. But this time around, it seems like it's quite low as compared to others. So let's see what comes out. What comes out.
Just on that voter turnout, what it is that we're seeing, what percentage are we looking at? Just rough estimate.
Well, for me, I can't say anything except what some of the polling stations that I was able to observe. Okay, the highest polling station that I saw in terms of turnout was 36%.
What's up?
6%, the highest that I saw where I was when they finished counting and everything. And the least that I saw was, I think, 16%. So basically, it's quite low. So let's see. Let's look at what will come out after the collation process has been completed. There could be places where the turnout happened to be higher. So let's see. We cannot specifically give out any figure now until we end the process. Then we can calculate the turnout.
Is there a conversation where the EC comes in with respect to by-elections and the turnout? Because this one has been quite low and we're having that conversation. Is there something within the domain of the Electoral Commission, for instance, where they can look at the data and point to the fact that, okay, this and this perhaps is what we can do to whip up a bit more in terms of interest during these by-elections?
Well, on the contrary, apart from the general elections where the political environment is charged and people, you have the euphoria for politics, okay? In by-elections, what we've noticed is that, and it's something that we can all attest to, all the big guns in the political arena happen to be within they converge at that particular constituency. And for this time around, in fact, I could relate it to voter apathy and the kind of intimidating environment that comes in when all the big guns, all members of parliament and what have you have converged about one particular polling station with their security and the bodyguards and what have you. I think that could be one of the things that allude to the issue of low turnout in by-elections. But I could also say that one thing that we can attribute to the low turnout in this particular by-election could be the religious factor in terms of the fact that they are having their Ramadan, the period of fasting. And, you know, I may say that we didn't hear much about campaign process, okay, in the constituency, the usual campaign with a loud kind of band and kind of loudspeakers and all those things. We couldn't. The situation was quite calm. And therefore, it could be that the candidates could not whip up, their voters in numbers to turn up to vote. So there are so many factors.
Just finally, there was a mention of the EC piloting a new system in terms of voter transmission during this by-election. Have we deployed it? A mention of electronic transmission of votes or something like that.
What did you see at the polling station?
I wasn't particularly at the polling station. That's why I'm asking to get an understanding as to what the process was like.
Well, it's something that we are trying to pilot. We're trying to assess its efficacy. But in law, the law talks about the result sheets, the statement of poll, and declaration of result sheet, what we know as pink sheets.
So that process is what I'm just asking about the piloting and what the feedback has been.
Well, it's our backup kind of administrative mechanism, as a backup to some of the experiences that we had in the general elections, the coalition process. So it's not something that is in law, and therefore it's not something that you can say that, yes, it has been launched and therefore we are using it. Yes.
But I'm gleaning this will be part of conversations going forward because this was discussed at IPAC, reason why we saw the pilot being rolled out today.
Well, I believe the parties have also their own method of capturing the data as well, apart from the physical mode of capturing the data. So it's something that we are piloting, We've tried it in Akwetia and we've tried it at the rerun. So we're still perfecting it. And then at the right time, the commission will come out. The commission will come out. Like, we don't do things without ensuring transparency, as you know, right? Transparency has been our hallmark in whatever we do as a commission. And that's, I would say that we've done more than what is happening in other places, So, open as the commission has been, we'll continue to be that. And when the right time is up for us to share what the feedback from that approach, we'll let the public know and we'll let our stakeholders get engaged on whatever we are trying to do.
Absolutely. I appreciate you engaging us as well. Always a pleasure talking to you. That's Mr. Fred Tete speaking to us as well. And so just a short while ago, there was a display of the outstanding number of polling stations. We were looking at some 44 thereabout. 66 are up. That's no longer on the screen for us to see. But this is where we are currently, and we'll continue to monitor the process and bring details to you as and when necessary.
Moina, what did you say about the projected figures on the screens at the Collation Center?
If you could kindly come again.
Yeah, I'm asking. You said something about a projector screen and some numbers. What did you say exactly?
I don't quite get the question, but I'm supposing you're asking about the screens and the projections that we've been seeing all throughout. It's not particularly clear, but what I can see from here is the polling stations, all 113 polling stations being openly displayed right now, and then the registered number of voters seen, the total number of votes in the ballot boxes, then we begin to go into the candidates, and then we see rejected votes as well, total votes, and then, so for each constituency, they are entering manually as well the results from the pink sheets, the result declaration forms, and then, since I've been here, it was just once when we were engaging Mr. Fred Tete that we saw the total number of collated polling stations vis-a-vis the ones outstanding, which was at 66 with around 44 thereabout outstanding. And so, yes, that's it on your screen. 69 done, 44 outstanding. It just flashed on the screen just briefly. And it means we have around 49 polling stations, if I'm not mistaken, or 44 rather, 44 polling stations outstanding which have to be imputed, then the eventual winner will make his way here and then a declaration will come through as well.
Very well, Mawena, we'll keep an eye on events there. Mawena Egbeta joined us from the Collation Center inside Ayawaso East constituency. It clearly tells us that 69 of the 114 polling stations in that constituency that took part in the by-election, results have come in. Results have been officially endorsed and put on the screen, leaving 44 more. We're getting close to the end of this. If you look at the bottom of your screen now, our dashboard is showing you 110 out of 113 polling centers from our command center, placing Baba Jamal, the NDC candidate, in a projected lead with 63.1% of valid votes cast. Baba Ali Yusuf of the NPP with a projected valid vote cast percentage of 23%. And remember, this is 110 out of the 114 polling stations that have been collated from our command center. Right now, however, the officially endorsed figures projected at the Collation Center are only 69 of the 114 polling stations. Obviously, the Electoral Commission says we'll rather take our time than make mistakes. They say that, look, we haven't made, we are not delaying the results. I'll bring in now Hamza Sohini, who is a member of the communications team of the NDC. Hamza, good evening to you. The evening shaping up as you expected?
Good evening to you, and of course, good evening to our cherished viewers out there. Expectedly, yes, the evening is shaping up to what the National Democratic Congress as a political party expects, and most importantly, the good people of Ayawaso East. I think that from day one, it was quite clear that the NDC had what is required to retain that particular seat, especially with Baba Jamal leading the charge. So clearly, this is not a surprise to us as a political party, knowing the kind of investments that we did in opposition to rebrand the political party NDC. If you remember, after the 2016 election, His Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama, indicated that the NDC needed healing, and he was prepared to take charge of that particular process. And for 8 good years in opposition, he did all what was needed to position the National Democratic Congress once again to become a viable political party in this country. And for us, it is not just the winning of by-elections. We are looking so deep into the future, how the NDC will continue to be able to win elections, how the NDC will continue to become attractive. So as you can even see, aside the work he did in opposition to rebrand the party, even in government, he is leading in a way that adds credibility and integrity to the fortunes of the NDC as we march forward as far as our electoral fortunes are concerned. So this is not a surprise to many of us who follow the trends, especially when it comes to NDC's transition. And so it is another addition that the NDC should continue to do more in terms of its international, in terms of its local image, and most importantly, its credibility.
Are you impressed by the margin of what could be the win at the end of today?
Absolutely, and it could have been more. And like the EC official indicated, this is a period of Ramadan. And so political activism in Muslim areas are likely to record this kind of, what's the name? If you like, low numbers, especially when it comes to elections. So it is expected. For many of us, if you look at the history of our by-elections in this country, anytime we have something like that in a Muslim-dominated area, the numbers turn out to be low. So this is not something that we did not expect as a political party. It was expected because we appreciate the season in which we are called upon to operate as far as the electoral laws are concerned. And the most important thing was, even if we had 100 people turning out to vote, the NDC's objective was simple, to be able to retain that particular seat. Also, what you need to understand is that there are many people who are out there who felt that, look, no matter what we do, the National Democratic Congress will win that seat. And they have a number of seats in Parliament already. So this is not a big deal. Whether we go out there to vote for our political party or not, they will still win. And you know that complacency can always set in. And I think that also played an important role in terms of the turnout. But these are lessons we learn from when moving ahead into the future. And be rest assured that the NDC would come out with a better way to galvanize the people, especially during this Ramadan period. Anytime we're having an election that falls within that period, we should be able to find ways of bringing our people out to vote.
Right. Let's talk about the independent candidate who's a former member of your party. The number of votes he's been able to garner so far has got people thinking as to whether or not the NDC has some work to do in reining in the votes that broke away from it for Umar Sanda in this election.
Like I indicated, you see, the NDC is not a political party rooted in complacency, especially after our 2016 defeat. It is a political party that is now rooted in strategy. It is a political party that appreciates that every vote counts, regardless of the number of votes he is able to draw at the end of the coalition. Be rest assured that it will be in the interest of the National Democratic Congress to explore ways to be able to get these numbers to come back to the fold. But as for my brother, for us, the party has taken a tentative decision on him. But I still believe that as someone who has served the party for several years, if he is able to retrace his steps and do the needful, the party will be more than willing to accommodate him. Trust me. And so for us, this is not scary. This is not something we would have sleepless nights over. But it is another reminder that there is the need for us to do everything within our power to ensure that we get these numbers back to the fold. These are not people who are out there to vote against the National Democratic Congress. Many of them would have had issues one way or the other with either Baba Jamal or any of the other contenders in the internal primaries that we conducted. And so the work will not end after today for NDC in Ayawaso East. The work will continue. We'll try as much as possible to build bridges and ensure that we have a formidable party on the grounds in Ayawaso East moving forward.
I see. I want to talk about the projected lead, Baba Jamal himself. How would the party like him to represent the party in the constituency once this is over?
I think that for our senior comrade, Baba Jamal, the verdict is already out there. In terms of those who have followed his exploits within the National Democratic Congress, he's been a loyal servant of the National Democratic Congress for several years now. Indeed, also at a point in time, remember, he was the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. So when it comes to the principles and foundational ideologies of the National Democratic Congress, there are those who still carry our dice at the law. But unfortunately, during the parliamentary primaries, issues came up about allegations of vote buying, bribery, and stuff of that nature. So for me, I think that he's been handed a golden opportunity to indicate to the good people of Ayawaso East, and most importantly to the good people of this country, that indeed many of the allegations that were flying were not done, intended to sway the voting public, because we've not heard anything to that effect in this general election. And so the test is out there. As to whether or not he would be able to pass that test is another matter, but I am pretty much convinced that he would pass that test, because he's being handed over a golden opportunity to be a champion against electoral vote buying, if you like, bribing of vote delegates, especially when it comes to internal primary elections. And that golden opportunity will not miss him, knowing him, and especially knowing the month that this is taking place, a holy month for those of us who are Muslims. And he would begin to imbibe, or if for want of a better word, he will continue to imbibe those principles that at least make the National Democratic Congress stand out tall, and most importantly, that also gives a pride of place to his religious affiliation, that is the Islamic faith for that matter. So for me, I am confident he will retrace his steps. Where errors were made, those errors would be corrected. Where improvements needs to be made those improvements would be made, and that is the beauty of our political tradition. It is one that accepts faults when they occur, and we move swiftly into action trying to resolve many of these faults in the interest of the Ghanaian people.
Hamza, did the people of Ayawaso East constituency, particularly the capital Nima, vote for routine or they voted for development?
I think that they voted for development. If you look at the trajectory of the election since 1992, there were instances where the percentages came down, and there were other instances, especially after 2012, where the percentages started going up. If you remember, the massive infrastructure development that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama drove in his first term in terms of road construction, Ayawaso is benefited a large share of that particular road infrastructure enhancement. And so it kind of informed the voting pattern after 2020 to 2012 rather to 2016, and in that order. And so you cannot say that it is not tied to development. That's one factor. But being a political party, that also prides itself in truth. One cannot also discount the loyalty angle when it comes to the loyalty that they have demonstrated, especially our brothers and sisters in the Zongo communities. The many years of standing in terms of loyalty to the National Democratic Congress also played a key role for some of the voters. So it's a mixed bag. But the challenge is how we as a political party will continue to meet the expectations of not just the people of Ayawaso East, but the majority of the Ghanaian populace. And
so in the next round of elections, we won't be talking about Ayawaso East as a home turf for the NDC only, but we'll talk about it as a place where there is true development across the board in this constituency.
Absolutely, and that should be the task of the Honorable Baba Jamal. Because remember, if you are elected as a member of parliament, it also boils down to your ability to be able to lobby developmental projects to your constituency. And knowing the Honorable Baba Jamal, I am convinced that he has what it takes to be able to do so, especially considering the fact that he is no new face. He's known by all the powers that be. If you look at the ministers and chief executive officers that have been appointed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, many of them know the personality Baba Jamal, so it won't be difficult for him to walk into any office to ask for developmental projects. And interestingly, I'm pretty much convinced that many others would have also owed him some measure of gratitude because of his long-standing years of service. So he would be able to take advantage of that and bring developments to the people of Ayawaso East. But then again, after hopefully in 2028, we would be making these same assessments as to whether indeed he will be able to live up to expectation by then is another issue that we would have to deal with in the future.
Very well. The opposition party, the NPP, tell me that, look, we're going back to the drawing board, we'll re-strategize and come back stronger in the next election. How does this come to you? Do you take the comeback any seriously than you take them today?
As for the new patriotic party, I think that it is difficult for me to comment on their internal operations, largely because, one, they seem not to be out of the confusion that rocked them, especially after the 2024 general election defeat. And so if you are not careful, any commentary will be rooted in that state of confusion, and you are likely to miss the bigger picture. And so I resist the temptation to run commentary on them now, especially so when I have not seen any form of clarity in terms of sincere efforts being driven by the party to come back on a track that is acceptable as far as political engagements are concerned. Until that is done, I still see them as a political party that has lost focus. I still see them as a political party that is struggling to find its bearing. I still see them as a political party that needs more than just the election of a flag bearer to get its politics right. And so that is their task for now. And I do not see how the political party NPP would be able to do that before the next general election. But then again, as a ruling party, that is the National Democratic Congress, our task is simple: to honor our campaign promises to the good people of this country, so that even in the future, regardless of the confusion the NPP finds itself, the Ghanaian people will not be attracted to see them as an alternative. But if we fail to respond to the legitimate needs of the Ghanaian people by fulfilling the many campaign promises we made, be rest assured, regardless of the state the NPP finds itself, the NDC would suffer consequences of failure to fulfill our campaign promises. And what gladdens my heart is the fact that there seems to be that commitment on the part of this government in terms of our willingness to fulfill those campaign promises. And day by day, we are living up to that expectation. We may not be able to do that in a matter of a year or 2 years or 3 years. We have a 4-year mandate, and I am pretty much convinced that by the end of that 4-year mandate, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama would have left an unmistakable communication, not just to the NPP, but to the good people of this country, that the National Democratic Congress is a political party that is a party committed to honoring its promises when they are made during elections. And so I'm convinced that that is the way the NDC should go. But as for the New Patriotic Party, their task remains simple. They must find their bearing because they are needed when it comes to the politics of this country. It is not the prayer of the NDC for the NPP to continue to become irrelevant. Absolutely not.
Well, I don't think that's where they're headed. Do you think that's where they're? I don't think that's they're headed for irrelevance. For a long time, they will be the.
Unfortunately, that is where they are headed. Unfortunately, and that is why it is worrying. That is why it is worrying. And it is in our interest, because especially considering the party, no matter the propaganda they run, you cannot discount the role of the National Democratic Congress in championing this fourth Republican democracy.
Very well.
And that is why even in our anthem, it has been captured clearly. From victory unto victory, the NDC shall lead a stable democracy. And we appreciate that the only way to lead a stable democracy is to have a viable opposition political party, like the New Patriotic Party in its former glory. But unfortunately, they have lost it, and it is in our interest for them to regain it. And our doors are more than open to help them retrace their steps in the interest of democratic stability of our country.
Very well, Hamza. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Hamza
Thanks
Suhini.
for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hamza Suhini is a member of the communications team of the NDC. We've just been looking at the Ayawaso East by-election. Again, our dashboard is showing you 110 out of 113 polling centers. Baba Jamal in a projected lead with 63.1%. Baba Ali Yusuf of the MPP with a projected representation of 23% of total valid votes cast in this by-election. All the other three candidates combined, including the former member of the NDC, now independent candidate, Mohammed Umar Sanda, all other three coming to a head of 13.2% so far. Baba Jamal himself is not new to the terrain of MPship in this country. We already know he's had his time once in the Akwetia constituency. He was then unseated by Amase of the NPP. He went on tried again in the Ayawaso East constituency. It didn't work out. He's been in the background working for the NDC, running his own life alongside. Prior to now, he was Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria. He quits that job. Well, he didn't quit that job. He was removed from that position after he contested the primaries in Ghana. And obviously, he said he was happy to let that position go despite it paying more. He's told us that on the record already. He says that he is rather happy to serve at the MPship level, where he can be of more help to the people of his constituency. Mawenek Beta is at the Coalition Center. Baba Ali Yusuf is speaking to our man on the ground. Let's take a listen.
We accept it in good faith. We'll go back to the drawing board, work hard, and come back better and stronger.
You come back better and stronger. On the campaign front, there's an assertion that you in the NPP didn't take this election seriously because it was a foregone conclusion. Is that an unfair remark to you?
That's not true. We've campaigned more than any other contender in this contest. We've done more house to house than any other candidates. And we've engaged the voters in a way that other candidates did not. But that is election, as I said. The electoral record is very clear that from 1992, they've been winning the seats. So for them to win this, it's no news. It's no news. Just that we couldn't meet our expectation, but that is the election for you.
Would you say the Ramadan, the fast, contributing to the low voter turnout may have affected as well the vote you were expecting in this election?
That could be a contributing factor. But to me, what I realized was that people have lost confidence in the NDC.
How so?
Because if this is their stronghold, and all that we can pull is around 20,000 votes for all the candidates in this election, it tells you even in their stronghold, there is a problem. And you can't mention any visible project that the NDC has embarked from all the time they were given the opportunity, over 34 years, you can't mention. But if you have people who have the love for their party, this is how it's going to be. And I've been mentioning one particular thing. If you go to other areas where we previously had by-elections, you realize that any time there will be developmental activities towards the by-election. In Ayawaso, is nothing of that sort happen. But the people have spoken. We take it in good faith.
For you, what's next? Are you going to do the homework, return 2028 possibly?
Our party is embarking on a reorganization, and that is going to be our focus for now. It was supposed to start from 1st March, but because of our by-election, we will begin ours in some days to come. That will be our focus for now.
Have you called Baba Jamal to congratulate him? And is rarely do we see losing candidates come by the coalition center as well?
Yeah, this is a normal thing. I'm sure he will come here very soon. So officially, I will congratulate him. I can even use this medium to officially congratulate him. And when he comes, we'll also go through the normal formalities, congratulate him, and we'll move on. Yeah.
Just the last one in terms of the concern about development for the constituency. You've mentioned that largely. Is this something you're willing to work with him with towards helping the people of the constituency where you say they've been neglected for a long time?
I will continue to be a voice in the community, a voice that will speak up. Things that are going wrong, will point it out and be a strong advocate for the people of Ayawaso East. That's what we are going to do in the coming days or the years ahead. They are in government, they have the MP, they have the MCE. Developmental agenda will be their total responsibility. Ours is to point out what is not going on right. If they can check and correct it, that is it. We will be an alternative voice for the good people of Ayawaso East.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. That's the Baba Ali of the NPP speaking to us this evening. Says that he's going to congratulate Baba Jamal when he does arrive here. And like I was asking, it's very surprising to see candidates who know elections didn't go in their favor, making their way to the collation center and seeking to, amongst many other things, go through the process, find out from Electoral Commission officials what the process is like, congratulates your opponent openly as well, and say they are going to foster and soldier forward towards their party's election. If you ask, long may it continue in terms of the democracy that we practice as well. But right now, that's the latest we have for you as they continue to pile in terms of the manual computation of the election results from here at the Ayawaso East constituency. It's the St. Kizito School where collation continues. And we'll be back again, hopefully this time around. But perhaps I'll get a quick thought from, you're with the Baba Ali team. Yeah. What was the message when you went into the campaigning?
The message was very, very simple. We saw that the good people of Ayawaso East were lagged behind in terms of development. NDC took this since 96. But looking at the development in areas like Nima and the rest, it's something you can write back home. It's quite unfortunate that our candidate didn't sail through, but we've made a mark in the minds of the people in this constituency. We know that fast forward in 2028, the seat will come back to MPP.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you as well. And so just in terms of a bit more in general sentiment and perspective from the camp of the NPP, now the numbers have reduced, and so we're seeing like what, a handful. Now, if I can, no, I'm not going to try and tabulate that quickly on air, but just two more officials I see with pink sheets, if I'm not mistaken, are waiting to join the individuals who are seated here. Then they make their way here, and then we can begin to expect a final declaration. We've seen Baba Ali Yusuf off the NPP come round, was number 3 on the ballot. That means any moment from now, we should be seeing Baba Jamal as well making his way here, and the Electoral Commission will make a final declaration, and then we can wrap it all up here with this by-election. Back to you in the studio as we await a bit more in terms of details and a bit more in terms of activity as well.
Eden Mawena, on that scoreboard you shared with us earlier, which had 69 endorsed, voter results there. What has changed since we last spoke? Well, my understanding is that Mawena can't hear me at the moment, but he, of course, gives us the impression that any moment from now, that official declaration should be done. We've seen him speak with the NPP's candidate, Baba Ali Yusuf, who's congratulated the projected lead in this race, Baba Jamal Ahmed. And, he's spoken about with us as far as these men are concerned, because I also get the impression that for the NPP, Baba Yusuf is the grassroots person as far as this election is concerned.
I mean, very interesting interview he granted over there, sharing his thoughts on what he makes of the entire process. And it's very obvious that he takes the view that this is just the first step towards what could possibly be a chance for the NPP to capture the seat for the first time. I mean, one of the individuals Mawena spoke to said the seat will return to the NPP. It's never been theirs before. I mean, they are hoping to get it for the first time. And you get a sense from Baba Ali that it's a long game that he's interested in playing. He makes and Mawena rightly points out that it is very rare that you find it. A lot of the times around this time when you know that it's done and dusted, the losing candidates do not go to the collation center. And he told Mawena that, look, they want to wait there, congratulate Baba Jamal. Even after he's actually spoken to him, he wants to congratulate him again over there and say that, well, there will continue to be voices within the area. It's very obvious that he believes strongly that if he gets the opportunity again, he can do much better than he's done currently. And I think for constituencies where a political party is the obvious stronger party in that area, sometimes consistency is the way to go. And the NPP will look at the last results outcome where the candidate that they presented, Zach Rahman, he was not able to make any leeway. In fact, he came, in terms of the outcome, was their worst defeat, in terms of it being the NDC's most significant percentage obtained in that particular constituency. So depending on how you look at it, you still have to raise questions about the competency of the candidate that the NPP put forward. And so this time around, they settled on Baba Ali, and we're asking all the questions. I don't know whether you are convinced so far with what you've heard. You've heard from the Greater Accra Regional Chairman, you've heard from our analyst as well, you've heard from the man himself, who was selected more or less as the consensus candidate.
I think at best the NPP was trying to test out the waters with Baba Ali Yusuf. And I hope whatever they were looking out for, whatever parameters they were using, they have the answers that they desire. But when it comes to strategy, I don't think I heard that from my interview with Ebenezer, Divine, and even Baba Ali himself. When Mawena put that question to him, he only talked about they went door to door. The person from his camp, also didn't give us any proper intentional strategy as far as this is concerned, right? And so I come back to the point I made earlier that I think that this was not taken as seriously as a party that thought that it could upset the results, given the backdrop that led us into the by-election on the side of the NDC.
Maybe seriously is a bit of a strong word. I would go for convenience. And I'll say convenience because there's a point that the Greater Accra chairman made in that your interaction with him, where he says that, well, they had a bit of a short time. It was around that period that we're going to have their flag bearer election as well.
True.
So if they were going to be, it's going to be competitive. They will not have enough time to repair the tracks. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, that sounds more like convenience. And obviously, he says that they allowed the party at that local level to come up with the names, and eventually the regional level looked at it and they approved it and declared it to go. As always, I keep on making a point that I always believe that the democratic principles, the allowing the people who are supposed to vote is always the good test of who the party should put forward. The reason always being that it is only when the internal process is extremely democratic that you have all members of the party rallying behind the candidate who has emerged victorious to campaign properly for him, especially for a constituency that there will either ways be in the minority. The MPP would either ways be in the minority within the constituency. It will mean that the few MPP members within the very small areas, the electoral areas, would have to always come together and work very hard towards ensuring that they will be able to capture that result. And so it's a very important
absolutely.
point there.
And Blair, we haven't spoken enough about the man, Baba Jamal, and how tonight will be a very fulfilling night for him, given his history in parliamentary races. Have we now?
I mean, Baba Jamal is a very interesting political figure. I think he's barely had a smooth race.
Parliamentary race ever.
ever. I mean, and
I don't know, maybe that should send him a message. But obviously he's bent on returning to Parliament.
I mean, within the context of the races that Baba Jamal has been through, arguably this could be the smoothest to an extent.
Possibly.
Relatively. I mean, very, very difficult situations he's had. I remember the Kufuor into second term period, the multiple reruns in some of the stations and all of that mad Akutia process.
Yeah.
Eventually he went into Parliament. You had Amase coming in and defeating him and all of that, had to now go all over. I mean, it's always been very, very difficult for him. But I think the takeout word for me is resilience. I think he's very resilient. And he's someone who, when he decides what he wants to do and how he wants to go about it, he just goes out there and he does it. I mean, a lot of people will look at today, you'll be announced as the winner of the elections. And would have said that from the onset, when he said he was contesting, some people said that you are High Commissioner. Why do you want to go into Parliament? The man said that, well, the salary is better there, but this is what he wants to do.
Absolutely.
He wants to come here and be in a domestic politics. He wants to represent the people of Nima and do a good job for them. That was the first hurdle he had to deal with and address all the concerns that came up. Eventually, the election takes place, and we all saw what happened. The vote buying issues come up. He granted an interview. He spoke about it. He's now granted another interview, a completely different direction again. The party intervenes, parliamentary caucus, all on his neck, saying that, well, the election results should be announced. There were people who were leaning towards the spouse of the former MP saying that, well, should be allowed to go through. So it was very, very difficult, even to the point that a deadline, a day before the close of filing for nominations,
there was a court hearing.
There was that was even before the election proper.
Right.
The day before the filing proper, that was when the party's National Executive Committee had to submit the report on the outcome of the investigation that had been done by the internal party. So that was the first window that he had to scale at very short notice. The party basically cleared and said that, well, there were issues with it. Our laws don't allow us to annul the results in this manner. So you that notwithstanding, the result stands. They were going to embark on more reforms to deal with the issues of vote buying. He's allowed to go through it. Then a day before the elections, in fact, shortly afterwards, a writ is issued by a pressure group questioning his election, not conforming to democratic principles. A day before the election takes place, the High Court comes out to the decision, throwing out that particular matter, and he's allowed to contest, and he emerges victorious.
What a race he's had.
He must be very tired.
What a race he's had. But you're right. You know, the sheer determination of a man to serve his people in Parliament. How does, his entry into Parliament switch things up as far as, the chamber is concerned? I mean, we will have to go to the screen at this point in time and show our viewers a bit of the numbers and how it looks like. And increasingly, we'll be making a point whenever we cover such by-elections that it is always about bragging rights, really. Especially in this current parliament, the NDC has significant numbers. And let me walk you through that right about now. So what we've done is that we've handed the NDC that current seat now, the one that he's just picked up now. So that puts the NDC number at 185, whereas the MPP is at 87. Then there are 4 independent candidates who we all know are doing business with the NDC already. And so that means that the NDC still having more than the 2/3. And it's very significant to note that this is where the NDC was before January this year, when unfortunately they lost the member of parliament. The country lost the member of parliament as well. So it's the same, more or less, back to where they were prior to it. And I mean, it's really not going to change. It's not changing anything in Parliament. It's just what they had already. It's the MPP side that potentially one would argue that, well, if they had gotten one, we just have added on to their numbers. But still, even with that, it's not going to, again, do any much of a difference. The NDC on their own strength are in the 2/3 region. They have the 4 on their side as well. So the MPP, once again, still staying there. And the MPP, we must emphasize that they've actually shrinked. You remember they used to have Akwetia when the year began, and eventually that has gone down to 87. The Akwetia has also added up already to the NDC numbers, with the NDC doing the 185 there. And so this is how Parliament looks currently. And the question that one would ask, especially with the by-elections that we've seen so far, at least we can stick to Akwetia. We can also talk about Ayawaso East. There are those who like data. They will be doing the analysis and saying that, well, there's a bit of a difference because of the nature of some of these constituencies and all of that. But a question that the MPP would have to ask itself straight in the face has to be about the fact that, is the NDC too strong at this point in time for the NPP? That's one question they may ask. A second question potentially could be that, is it a case that the presidency, the president for that matter, is doing well such that it's rubbing off on some of these internal elections that are taking place? And there have been times in the past that I remember Asin, where Jachi Kwesin was, he had won, the whole election was nullified, the election had to take place again, he emerged victorious again, even when the MPP was in power at the time. And so some of those are the constituencies that people will look at and will try and make all forms of analysis to be done. But there's still a conversation to be had about how the NDC appears to be quite dominant. And early on, when I was doing analysis with Alfred, I had made a point that the baseline is from 2016. When you pick from 2016, the MPP had a significant majority in Parliament. You go to 2020, the NDC closed the gap such that the MPP had to fall on the independent candidates to form the majority. Subsequently, in 2024, the NDC emerged victorious, and on its own strength, the party had the majority, even such that
they even got the independent candidates on their side as well. And so far, 2 by-elections, they've comfortably retained one that is typically their seat. They've won the other one that was not even their seat going into the by-election. They would manage to win that one as well. And so that is a question that we could potentially ask. But limiting ourselves to the current constituency and maybe if we get Mr. Danko at some point in time, the conversation about the percentage that is coming up.
Yeah.
Baba Ali is doing a bit more, better than the projection had been around 2.7, if I remember correctly. Then Baba Jamal, around 75. He's not doing anywhere close to this. We understand it's still within 63, less than 64 actually, within that range as well. And I would, I mean, if I get a chance to you engage Mr. Dankwa, I would stay more on Baba Ali.
You know, Mr. Dankwa is, over Zoom now. We could have that conversation with him. He was only in our studios a few hours ago. And Blay, you start off that conversation now, and then we'll take it off from there. You have a number of questions to ask him, so you start.
Mr. Dankwa, good evening once again. I mean, looking at the numbers that we are seeing so far, particularly, I want to start off with the performance of Baba Ali. Fair to say that that he seems to be doing very well than had been projected.
I haven't seen the final numbers for him. What did he get finally?
We are yet to isolate that, but in terms of all the others that we have, so minus the MPP and the NDC, all others are looking at 13%. That is what we've seen so far. So if we are to isolate it specifically, we understand that will still be in the 3 region as well.
I mean, if you look at the MPP numbers, MPP candidate is unique. His votes is intact within the margin of error. What we witnessed today is a movement from Baba Jamal to his fellow former NDC candidate, NDC from Petron, which is Umaru Sanda Mohammed. So basically, if you add the votes of Baba Jamal and the other NDC guy, you're going to get around 75 or so %. So it is movement that has happened within the NDC rank and file, and not necessarily across the entire polling. MPP were saying they will get 21%, plus or minus 3% margin of error. But that put him precisely within that numbers. So what you see is just people, friendly movement of numbers, and people who probably said they're going to vote for Baba Jamal, the last minute change their mind to the independent candidate, Umaru Sanda Mohammed.
I mean, but that should be of concern, particularly to the National Democratic Congress, in that, in terms of how they managed this particular electoral process, it could have been problematic for them.
You know, if you look at this candidate in particular, Umaru Sanda Mohammed, he didn't contest the primaries. So he wasn't an aggrieved party in the primaries. But out of the blue, he decided to contest the by-election as independent candidate. So there's nothing really they can do other than maybe convince him not to contest. But he did contest. Now, if he was probably a candidate in the primaries and he went solo, then probably he would have had a much bigger impact than he did. But clearly, it shows that he's quite popular in the areas in Ayawaso East.
I mean,
much more stronger than we thought he is.
In terms of using this bit of the analysis to explain what we are seeing, on the other hand, to the figures that we are getting for the voter turnout, even from the Electoral Commission, they say that the highest, the EC official told us that the highest they've seen so far is around 37% thereabout for one of the stations. Most of them are basically doing under that, and they are projecting that potentially the total outcome in terms of the voter turnout will be lower than we generally record for by-election. Is that another factor that you could lean on in terms of the outcome that we are discussing with regards to Baba Jamal?
No, in terms of the turnout, Nima is predominantly Muslim constituency. About 70% of them are Muslims. And we are in Ramadan. I mean, anybody who lives in Zongo communities know how Ramadan is and how people observe it. In Ramadan, early morning, people are virtually sleeping. They wake up around after 3, or it gets busy from 2, 3, 4 onwards. So that would have also had an impact on the turnout. Certainly, I mean, no by-elections are the same, and Numa has given us a unique situation.
I mean, we are hearing from Baba Ali this evening as well, and he sounds more like thinking that this is a first step towards he possibly contesting again in 2028. From what we have seen by way of the projections and the actual outcome that we've seen, do you think that he is a candidate who more or less gives the MPP a better shot to make some inroads in Ayawaso East?
Look, if you look at his performance, he actually performed lower than the previous candidate in the by-election, in the main election last time. The last time MPP got around 28%. He's done lower than that. So did Baba Jamal compared to Naza. And I don't know what the effect of his performance today will be in the future. But certainly he can build on it because first time and second time will not be the same. So it may be a stepping stone. As to whether he can make really impact in Nima, it's a difficult one to say at this stage.
What would your answer be? What would your answer be if I ask the same question for Baba Jamal?
Baba Jamal, I think in the next election, it depends upon whether he is able to win the primaries. If he wins the primaries, he's likely, and he doesn't get internal rifts like today, he will probably average the same number as Nima averagely. But if he gets a strong contest from within, and I don't know whether he will survive the primaries. But if he does survive, I think he will still retain the seat.
I mean, given that you conduct extensive polling across the country in diverse constituencies, strongholds, toss-ups, and all of those things, what is the learning that you can put across to political parties that want to make inroads in areas that are the strongholds of their opponents?
I think the answer is find the right candidate and then the right message. It may be tough in a stronghold, but you'll be able to make a better impact if you have the right candidate with the right message. Always, these two things matter. You cannot just pick anybody and expect to have a good run. So the best candidate or a better candidate and also a very good message. Sometimes the timing of the election is quite important and the situation at the time. Sometimes you will have a very good candidate, but it's going to be very, very tough election cycles, and that may not help the candidate. But at least the first step is the right candidate.
Before I hand over to Kemini, I mean, it's a conversation we've been having about the turnaround time for the results that come out from the Electoral Commission. I know that your polls that you do, you use a lot of technology as well. As a pollster yourself, where you sit, should we be worried that the turnaround time from the EC appears to be not very impressive, or we should just be fine with how the EC is doing now, especially with regards to by-elections that we've seen so far, where we are just doing just one constituency? It's almost, we're entering towards 9 p.m. and we still don't have the provisional results declared by the EC yet.
I think sometimes I don't know whether it is out of date technology or the process needs refining. Sometimes you need to refine the process and make it much easier. I don't see how or why this small constituency you're unable to declare a result at this time. If it was a vast land, vast constituency with the long distances, yes, you can think that, yeah, let's wait for the pink sheet before we can collate. But these days, I mean, if you have a technology that works well, it doesn't matter where the data is collected. We are able to get the results of our survey within seconds from every corner of the country. So I don't know why EC cannot do that.
Kevin, are you still with me?
I am indeed. And Mr. Dankwa, I'm just wondering if your predictive poll, what you had done earlier, had identified what could be a breakaway from the 75% you had given, predicted for Baba Jamal onto Umaru Sanders' results.
Look, if you look at the results we had, I think Umaru Sanders has performed at 6% better than the polls in terms of if you add the margin of error, because margin of error was 3%, and we gave nearly 3%. So if you add the 3% to what you got in the poll, that takes him to about 6%. So 6% from what he actually got, let's say 6% or 12%, he's done twice what he said he was going to do, which means he has outperformed the polling numbers. What this simply means is that people who said they were going to vote for Baba Jamal and didn't vote for him on the day actually went to the independent candidate, Umaru Sanders. And because they have the same stock of political party, it is easy to see that kind of movement happen. Indeed, in the last MPP primaries, you saw that our number for Baumia was spot on, but for Kennedy and Brian, the numbers moved from Kennedy to Brian, and Brian outperformed the poll as we did. So this normally happens within elections where you share the same demographics, the same in the sense that it's NDC based, and that if NDC candidate lost the number, he didn't go to MPP, he went for another NDC candidate.
What will be the important issues based on your survey within the constituency for the whoever, at this point we can't say whoever. The projected winner is Baba Jamal. We're just waiting for the Electoral Commission to do the declaration. So what are the key issues that Baba Jamal should tackle as far as your interaction with the constituents are concerned? What have you learned from them?
Look, in the last poll that we conducted, when we asked them about their top issues as a constituent, for Ayawaso East, what was coming up on the radar was unemployment. And then you have sanitation issues and education. So normally you don't see sanitation high up in many constituencies, but in Nima it was showing up. So sanitation is a big issue for them, which is sanitation and drainage system is quite important. So they have to work strongly or hardly on sanitation and drains for Nima constituency. And so the unemployment issue, that cut across the entire country. It's not just Ayawaso East, but the entire country. Unemployment is number one issue facing the country today. And any poll you conduct anywhere in Ghana, unemployment is number one. As to how they will do that in Nima, I really can't tell. But there are teeming youth of people in Nima that are looking for jobs. So they must find a way beyond Nima to let the people have the jobs, to let the youth.
Musa Dankwa, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for your time. Musa Dankwa is Executive Director of the Global Info Analytics. We've just been looking at his poll vis-a-vis what the projected figures are now. He's given an explanation as to what the differences could be, because remember that he had given some 75% for the projected leader at this point, Baba Jamal, 2.7%, I think, for the independent candidates who broke away from the NDC, Umar Sanda. But Blair, you've got some things to share with us as we continue this coverage of the Ayawaso by-election. The Electoral Commission at some point, needs to do better than it does now, because, people have gone to bed not knowing what the declared results are. 4 hours, 9 minutes ago, the elections ended. We are still waiting for the Electoral Commission to declare results for one constituency of about 50,000 votes. We have spent millions of dollars to improve our electoral process. This Electoral Commission has spent money, and we're still here, waiting 4 hours, 9 minutes on for elections, a by-election at that, where very few people... Listen, you heard the man, the director from the Electoral Commission, Fred Tete, when he tells us that from what he has seen on his rounds, he's had 16% being the lowest turnout, 36% being the highest turnout, which means that it is even likely that not 25,000 people turned up for this election. Why are we still here? Why are we still here not having declared results? And when we talk about sheer incompetence, they tell us that it is because they don't want to make mistakes. But have we not stayed hours, over 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours waiting for results, and they still came and made mistakes? So it cannot be that they are being meticulous. It is that we have an incompetent system we continue to pump money into, but we haven't done the right things to ensure that the right technology is employed so our elections move faster than this. Look, South Africa held elections and we were seeing the elections in real time. Why cannot Ghana do the same thing? This is not acceptable, but I don't know why I'm going on and on. I'll pull the brakes here, but I don't know why I'm going on and on. I know why I'm going on and on, but I think I'll pull the brakes here.
I totally get your point. And for me, when I was listening to the interview between Mawina had with the Electoral Commission official, you see, sometimes, and it's I mean, forgive me sometimes. I look out for the little things sometimes. It can be a problem sometimes because you notice things that you just have to gloss over something. Like, I mean, the question that was asked to him about was the concern being raised about the fact that we are not collating it in good time. He was like, are we actually not doing well?
Yeah.
You know, it's like he doesn't
Are you sure it's delayed?
I mean, that alone was a problem for me. That alone was a problem for me because for an election in a single constituency, and it's good we've heard them tell us that they are piloting a bit of an electronic system that they want to use. Again, he's telling us that, well, the law says paper. Yes, the law says paper. That is why there is the opportunity for us to make new constitutional instruments where necessary. I mean, like some live pictures coming from the Coalition Center. We understand Baba Jamal just arrived at the Coalition Center. So hopefully all of this will come to some conclusion soon. The declaration will be done by the EC. But the point I was making is that it's good that the Commission is piloting some electronic transmission. Depending on how it plays out, they should be able to give the political parties at the IPAC level a feedback on how that electronic transmission system operated today. And subsequently, if it's necessary to use it full scale in subsequent national elections, we have to get a necessary framework either to make it primary, secondary, or as an alternate means of resource transmission that could be provided for in the law just to ensure that we get our results in good time. In the last two elections that we had, general elections, we have virtually had the country lean on the political party's decision to see their own results and decide that
and concede.
It's done for the peace of the country to be kept. Because we cannot continue to wait all through and still be expecting that the MPP, because the MPP and the NDC are participating in these elections. And as at 2 hours ago, Rashid Tanko Computer comfortably showed us the portal where a live portal where the results were being collected and were coming in. And even at that point, they were inching closer to the 100. And at that point, when Mawena went over to show us the screen from the Electoral Commission, they were doing 49 out of 113. I mean, I think the EC would have, the very fact that they are piloting some form of system today is an admission that, yes, technology is the way to go, and they can do better than they are doing currently, and we expect them to follow through with that.
And there's Baba Jamal in our shot. He is accompanied by his spouse, and he's all smiles. Who wouldn't be when you know that you'll be the declared winner of the night for a by-election that had its own attendant issues from the primary up until now. He's waiting for the official declaration, and perhaps this blaze should give us hope that indeed we are nearing the end of this 4-hour wait, now going on 5 hours since the elections ended.
Absolutely.
We are waiting for the time when perhaps we should get Mawena in. He'll tell us how far or how close we are to the end now that we have seen Baba Jamal in our shot. Let's get some sights and sound from there quickly. Obviously having a hearty laugh, hopefully for good reasons. But he will join us soon to bring us some details from there. It's now about 16 past the hour 9. If you're listening to us on 392.7 FM, we're also live on TV3 and across all our social handles, Facebook, x.com, and YouTube as well. Baba Jamal there sat pretty in a shot accompanied by his wife and members of his campaign team. Obviously, is getting his phone, responding to messages, I believe will be congratulatory messages, which have already begun with his opponent from the NPP side.
Electoral Commission here. It's been a long day. We're doing 16 past 9 at this particular point in time. Just a handful, right now I can confidently say, just a handful of polling stations to go. Then we can have the officials of the Electoral Commission make that final declaration. One that we've been waiting for quite a while, one that the NDC has most graciously actually showed us in terms of their own collation and what. So we're down to 108. So 108 polling stations validly entered. 5 polling stations yet to enter results. That's what we have currently by the Electoral Commission, who just displayed it. So 5 is the number we're seeking to, or we're working towards at this particular point in time, as the by-election here at Ayawaso East grinds to a halt, or no, a conclusion, right? It's a conclusion, not a halt. A halt will suggest that we're taking some unfortunate pause to which we will return to again, but a conclusion, and the curtains are finally being drawn on this entire process as we have 5 polling stations outstanding. I can reckon by now it could be down to 4, as the victorious side always really have very broad smiles on their faces. I've seen Baba Ali of the NPP still around. He said he was going to stick and stay, and congratulate Baba Jamal personally as well. I've seen him around. It just suggests he may have stepped out just briefly as well. But officials of the NPP as well, all present. And a reminder, I've experienced a number of by-elections, and rarely do you see happenings like this where officials of the losing side stick and stay, seeking to congratulate the victor. It will suggest possibly a change in terms of approaches from political parties, but this is a very, very, very small, a small test result, or a test in terms of being able to predict the general outlook of what the election looks like. But I'm just going to come back to the studio just quickly for a quick rectification of a little technical challenge, after which we'll be back again with a bit more. So we're down to 3, and so any moment from now we'll begin to get EC officials make that final declaration. But let's come back to the studio just briefly for a bit of a tweak in terms of technical enhancement. Then we'll be back here at St. Kizito for you.
Well, Mawana Egbeta with commentary there from St. Kizito Collation Center, where the projected lead in the Ayawaso East by-election is already seated, waiting for the official declaration of results, of which Mawana says 108 have been endorsed, validly declared by the Electoral Commission, which means that we have some 5 or 6 more to go, because there are 113 polling stations, which means that we have 5 more to be declared. But also, this is a first past the poll election, and perhaps when Blake joins us again, he will let us understand what the legal reasonings could be for why we need all 113 before we can declare the results, because it's first past the post. I don't understand why we still don't have results at this time, but I won't go off on that again. I think that a point has been made that there needs to be change to the way our results are collated, so that we do not keep the country in suspense, which in some cases could be dangerous suspense for so long. But we are nearing the end, clearly. It's 9 3:21 p.m. if you're listening to us on radio. 392.7 FM is the dial. On television is TV3. Thank you so much for your company. Up until now, we're here with you until the official declaration is made. We've heard from the NPP's candidate, Baba Ali Yusuf, who's already congratulated Baba Jamal for his win of the constituency. Our dashboard is showing you 110 out of 113 polling centers. Our prediction is that with that figure is a 63.1% win for Baba Jamal. Early on, Dr. Joshua Zato had indicated that there was no way that Baba Jamal was going to clock 71%, and that would be an indication of how the people felt about the government of the day. Dr. Zato, as I welcome you back to our coverage, do you still feel same?
Good evening to you. Hey, how do you know that was what I said? You were not the one I spoke to. I spoke to John.
I was monitoring.
Anyway, good evening to you, and let me say good evening to all those watching. I'm home, and there's Doomso here, so that I'm trying to sit at a place where I can be seen.
You just had to sneak that one in, didn't you? You had to sneak the Doomso in.
I could actually give you a wider view of the community, and you can see it. I'm holding the phone. That's why I can't use the laptop, so that in case of anything, you just know why I'm sitting outside on the laptop.
I get you.
But look, kudos to the residents of Ayawaso East. They came out. They performed their civic duties and responsibilities. We have to thank them. Whenever citizens come out to perform this crucial role, this sacred role in a democracy, we have to thank them for that. We also have to congratulate Baba Jamal for his victory. It's a victory no matter what. Congratulate him for doing that. And I'm glad you just said the loser or the losing candidate has stayed back to congratulate him. That is good. It shows a good sign of what? Maturity. Some things were not in doubt. Baba Jamal's victory was never in doubt. Nobody doubted that he could lose that seat. He was going to win. That was a fact. There were certain things that people were going to ask. For instance, posters had him, I think Global Info Analytics had him at 75 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the 2024 elections to the deceased MP had won at 71. So
Dr. Zato, did I lose you there? Or Dr. Zato's Doomso won't let him talk to us, but we will rework that connection and bring him back. As you heard him, Baba Jamal's win was not in contest. The margin of win is what he was going to tackle. Unfortunately, we lost him in that connection. And speaking of Baba Jamal, he's the man in your shot at the moment as we have a live look at the at St. Kizito Collation Center in the Ayawaso East constituency. We are counting down now to that official declaration. We're very close to that. Your election command center will bring you the full and up-to-the-minute coverage of that as well. In the meantime, Dr. Zato is back. Doc, you are making a point.
Yeah, so what was outstanding was not his victory, no, but the percentage. Looking at the gap that the deceased MP had, and also looking at what pollsters were predicted for him. And those are the key things that I thought that we could use to see what happens. Yes, the voter turnout is down. Now, why is the voter turnout down? It could be that, of course, it's a by-election, so sometimes it comes down, which is true. It could also be that there's Ramadan. The Ramadan can take a very big toll on a majority Muslim community. That could be the thing. So we could look at, those are the obvious reasons why the voter turnout is down. But could it be more than that? Could it be that these people decided to vote with their legs instead of with their thumbs? Could it be that they stayed away precisely because they did not like the NDC candidate, they don't like Baba Jamal, they don't like how he became their candidate, and they don't want to associate with him? Could it be the reason?
What do you think?
Could it be that? No, there are a number of theories. I want to come on them. That could be one. Two, another reason could be that they didn't vote for him because he doesn't have roots in the constituency. As in, this is the first, he ran the last time and he's not coming back. And if you look at what happened during the primaries and the amount, the blatant, naked display of money to influence the vote, could it be that it was so offensive to some voters that they stayed away? That is another reason why. Thirdly, it could be that the financial or the economic condition of the country we said is good. Inflation is down. All these are good. But could it be that the people or the residents of Ayawaso are not feeling it? Is it that they are not feeling, let me say, the economic vibe? A third thing could be that it is increasingly, or it is just wholly an indecision. Completely. That's what I'm saying, nobody expected any surprise. Could these people be telling the government, look, because it's wholly an indecision, because you know you always win, you've neglected us. Our development has not been done. Compared to constituencies, our neighboring constituencies, we are far behind. So could this be a kind of a protest vote by not coming?
Oh, that's a shame. We lost Dr. Zato again as we rework the lines to return him to the conversation. He's asked a number of questions, and I wonder which ones he thinks are responsible for, the margin of win for Baba Jamal. When he comes back, he'll probably tell us a bit more. But those are important questions that have been raised here. He's reiterating. Dr. Zato, finish that point for me.
So all this, so we can look at the cost of the biggest.
Not again. It would appear
obvious reasons for the lower turnout, or to look at more complicated and nuanced reasons as to why there's a lower voter turnout. We can do that. And I think that both political parties need to look at that complicated thing, because if we don't do that, then you may not pick very important and vital lessons that are there to guide you in future elections.
I see. And when you look at that margin of win, right, there are those who have said, perhaps it may not be any of what you have said specifically, but it could be the presence of Umar Sanda, who is a former member of the party, an assembly member who won convincingly in his own electoral area. What are your thoughts on that?
But that's the question. Again, we also talk about party discipline, and this is one of the things that the NDC had. If you look, coming into 2024 elections, and now the NDC has been able to have full command of its people, and everybody has been able to toe the party line. Is that beginning to crack? We've seen the threats from the chairman of the party, talking about severe consequences on this gentleman if he moves up, but yet he continued. Why? The NDC until this election had been credited with some level of strong party discipline. Is it beginning to crack? That's something else that the party needs to find out. Why is this guy not being afraid of extradition, not being afraid of being sacked, but still continue? And if we have more of this going forward, what does that mean for the party? You must then understand things. Something obvious will help him. Either there was a push or a pull that made him want to run despite the obvious consequences. What is it? I think the party needs to know that. Is it that people have begun to say that you can crack the whip, but we're not going to listen? They need that discipline. The NDC needs that discipline going forward. The example of this, Omar Sanda, is not good at all for them.
I see. And I mean, despite that, all of these dynamics that could have worked in the favor of the NPP, as we have seen it work in favor of the NDC in elections past, the NPP candidate still pulled around the same level it does even in normal electoral cycles. What do you think could be the reason there wasn't an improvement in the performance of the NPP?
Good. I mean, again, the similar factors may be in place. It is broadly, nobody ever doubted the fact that the NDC was going to win. It is the NDC's stronghold. Now, if you look at the NDC's candidate, the NPP's candidate, this is the first time he's running there. You could make the case that this is the second time Baba Jamal is running, that he ran in the primary and lost. So he had the opportunity to sell himself, to market himself, to inure instead of people. This is the first time this guy is running, if I might not get it wrong. If he's still maintaining the position of the NPP, then the NPP also needs to begin to ask themselves, what do we need to do to crack the ceilings we have in Muslim-dominated constituencies? They also need to look at the numbers. They need to look at the figures and say, we need a formula, we need a plan on how to do well or to do better or to win in this community. Because you cannot just seed a segment of the communities to your rivals. So they also have a lot of soul searching to do. And then one of the things they could do is that they could groom this young man who just came, had less 30 minutes to sell himself for the next elections, hoping that his maturity, his understanding of the politics, and his reconciliatory nature, by standing back to congratulate the winner and by accepting it, could inure himself to the people and may result in a better outcome later on. So those are all lessons that they can take. Everybody, both political parties in these elections, can pick very vital nuggets of lessons that they can use as they prepare going forward.
It could also mean that if people were truly unhappy with the government of the day, as has been the routine for by-elections, this low voter turnout should have been in favor of the opposition party, which means that theory that under 71% will mean that people are not happy with the government has already been thrown out the window.
No, so you are trying to understand why. That's one of the things we don't have in this country, which I've always talked about, is what we call exit polls. I wish we had exit polls so they tell us why they came and didn't come. But think about it this way. If you go to a place that votes over 70% for a party almost consistently, over voter percent, it's almost difficult, if not impossible, to overcome that 30, almost 40% gap in just a by-elections. It's almost impossible. So what you then want to look at is how the person performs. So if he's able to keep the base, so it means that he just gets to the ceiling of what they do, then at least he's kept the base. He's a winner, the champion, has not widened his lead, but has otherwise reduced. That's a problem. Secondly, I'm saying that the people who didn't come out to vote, it's not as if they came out and decided to vote against the NDC. Probably their love for the party is so much that no matter what they can't imagine themselves voting for another party. So then they decided to vote with their legs. And that's the point I'm making. When you vote with your legs, it's a protest vote. That means that you decide not to come out to vote. If you go back to the 2024 elections, pollsters have told us that over 2 million voters who associate with the NPP did not come out to vote. That was a statement in and of itself. So sometimes that is it. If you are dissatisfied with your own government and you feel that you cannot go out and vote for the other person, you vote with your legs to stay home. So probably that is what they chose to do. That's what I'm saying. The party then needs to reconnect with it to find out, why didn't you come out to vote? What will it take you to come and vote? That is another assignment that the NDC will need to do, just as the NPP must do that going to the next elections.
Clearly, tonight's results, as you say, is telling us that both parties have work to do.
They all have homework to do.
Yeah.
The person or the party that takes the homework seriously, the party that sits down and does it, may end up being the happier for it. Because if you just take, that's what I'm saying, we can just take the simple explanations. When you do that, you may miss the bigger point. So let's not just assume that it's just the normal things. No, let's go below that. Let's go beyond that. And then there's one thing that I think is going to be actually awkward. How will the majority receive Baba Jamal when he joins them in the House?
Why is that a problem?
Do you think it's awkward because they call for his to be cancelled? Will it be awkward? I'm just asking. Will it be awkward?
What do you think?
Hey, we didn't want you. Hey, here you are. I don't know. I'm just asking.
You must have a reason, which is why you brought it up.
No, I'm saying my reason is because if you came out publicly to say, dismiss this guy, don't let this guy run, yet the guy goes ahead, runs, waits, and comes back and enjoys it, because like the majority is going to look at him and like, yeah, I don't want you here, but you are here. Anyway, welcome. I don't know. It may be awkward. I'm just saying it's awkward.
Tonight you're being mischievous, but let's stay on that subject, right?
No, come on, tell me it's not.
No, let's stay on that subject. Let's stay on that subject. Okay. So it means that there would have to be some reckoning to be done between the majority caucus that had called for the annulment and Baba Jamal himself, right?
Imagine Baba Jamal walks up to the majority caucus, they are the meeting, and say, hey, guys, I'm here. Hey, I know you didn't want me. I saw you didn't want me.
But I'm here anyway.
But here I am.
I don't think that should be a problem. They belong to the same side of the coin. Genuine incidents had taken place.
They didn't treat him as one of them.
But saying that
they wanted to throw him away.
No, but saying that is equal to saying that the majority side should have closed their eyes to the anomalies that took place during the primary.
No, they went beyond the anomalies. You can condemn the anomalies, and then accept that you all came through similar means, the same means. Condemn the anomalies, but don't ask that they should be annulled and the guy should be, the victim should be thrown out. That was where they crossed the line.
But how do you condemn without, asking for consequences?
So what were the consequences then? It means that their condemnation, everything is futile, an exercise in futility. Why do that?
But at least they showed
your threat. Why issue it in the first place?
Well, again, let's look at the two issues. It wasn't within their purview to sanction anybody in that process. However, they had made known that it will be in our interest. Can you hear me, Prof? Can you hear me, Doc? It would appear Doc cannot hear me. When we get him back, we will have that conversation because it's important we separate the two issues. They condemned, they asked for consequences for the parties involved, including the now projected leader. And, we need to separate that from the fact that they crossed the line, because condemning without the consequences also makes it look like it was just routine. And we're still seeing some live pictures from the Kizito Collation Center, where we are expecting the Electoral Commission, hopefully anytime soon, to announce the results of the Ayawaso by-election. And Dr. Joshua Zato has returned. Doc believes that...
You see, the doomsday is also affecting the network, so we need to talk about both of them. No, I can show you. You see that
maybe you should get on a better network.
Pardon?
You should get on a better network so that you don't become mischievous on the show.
Okay. That's a valid point. Okay. And so what I'm saying is that at least if I was Baba Jamal, the first day he walks inside, we must all agree that it's going to be awkward. Maybe there have to be some apologies. Maybe there have to be some talking. Somebody else can say, you know what, let's bygones be bygones, let's move on. But the problem is that going forward, therefore, that's what I'm saying, both parties have to learn. Because one of the things is this: how do we deal with money in our primaries? It's an important thing, especially as an incumbent, as the governing, as a majority. Two, how do we deal with candidates who refuse to abide by the party's rules and the party's principles and go independent? Mm-hmm. Because coming events cast their shadows, and Ayawaso is casting a shadow. The good thing is that part of the shadow is a good one. It was peaceful. The Ghana police did their work. There was no trouble, no nothing. There was camaraderie among all the people. I saw both the executives of both political parties putting Ghanaians politics on a high pedestal, greeting each other, mocking each other, teasing each other, doing what you expect friends to do. That is okay. Those parts are good. But internally, parties need to come out with their own codes of conduct on how to conduct their primaries, so that we can move away from this idea of monetocracy and make sure that the will of people is always done when it comes to election. That is a lesson that both political parties must learn going forward. If not, sometimes the best candidates get drowned out by money, and then it doesn't help anybody.
Doc, as we have always done, we'll cover Baba Jamal's first day in Parliament when he's sworn in. And we will see how it plays out.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanted to put the camera on the people who signed the letter saying that it should be removed.
No.
And then let's see them eat back their way.
No, hang on. Why? Let's agree to disagree on that point. That it's okay.
What are we disagreeing on?
No, it's okay to condemn and demand consequences for an action that you have just condemned. But if it doesn't go your way, doesn't mean that you should fight whoever is on the opposite side.
No, I'm not saying fight. So you mean Baba Jamal should not tease them?
Oh, that's a different matter. That's a different matter. Completely different matter that will have consequences. It's a completely different matter that will have consequences. He's free and it's fair for him to tease. It's okay. It's okay.
All I'm saying.
But Doc, let's look at development of Ayawaso East, because in the next 4 years the people will be looking at that. What are your expectations in the next 3 years? The people will be looking at that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That the NDC also. That's part of the reason I was giving, the deep-rooted reasons. Somebody made a comment. He said, whenever there's any by-elections anywhere, we saw in Equatia, that was the last one. In the eve of the elections, there was massive development going on there, roads and other things. How come there was nothing like that in this particular constituency? How come there was no last-minute developmental things going on? The other theory is that is the NDC overtaking Ayawaso is for granted. Because you could say that the reason why you had a last-minute development in Akwetia was because generally it is a 50-50 constituency. It's a flipping constituency. But here it is steady. Does that mean that you're taking it for granted? And that's what I'm saying, the soul searching must begin. Because if the constituents think that, look, the reason why you are doing this, that you are taking our vote for granted is that if they will even come out to vote for the NDC candidate, NPP candidate, they may vote with their legs and stay to vote. But remember, it's a huge constituency with a large population. You need all those numbers to add up to the eventual flag bearer candidate. So they must find out, why do people stay back? Why didn't they come to vote? Don't just assume that it's because of Ramadan or Shabai elections. That would be a lazy analysis. That's the point I'm making.
Very well. Doc, hang in there for me as I invite the gentlemen into our conversation. Alfred and Blair on the other side. I'll have them take a bite from the debates that we have ended on this side, because Dr. Zato believes that the majority caucus will now have to eat their own words after what
it's going to be awkward, you know. Just saying.
Because it will be so awkward.
But Kameni, you agreed with me today it will be awkward, right? Imagine he's going to walk inside there like a gangster, and they're going to be like, "Yeah, sorry, we didn't want you here, but you are here."
I don't know. Your imagination is really wild, Doc. You have a very healthy imagination. But
Thank you.
Alfred and Blair, what do you think?
Alfred, my interesting.
Look, I think you were right about that. Some Dr. Zato's submissions lays with some level of mischief, but then again, if you distill the point he makes about what happened, right, after the primaries, you would not be far from right to want to expect that the majority would now have to take a certain position of not reconciliation, but obviously aligning with what the larger interest of the party is. That's number one. And then also working out whatever difference in position that they had. Because in the end, Baba Jamal will sit with them. He will work with them. And regardless of the position they took, guess what? He is the projected person to be elected or announced as the winner of this by-election. So, like it or not, it's coming in. So that's the point you can't contest, especially taking into consideration the majority's position, which was publicly, expressed about the outcome of the primaries. The party has established its position on the outcome of the primaries with that investigative committee they put together. And the recommendations that the committee made, if you see it, it goes beyond just addressing the outcome of that primary. There are far-reaching recommendations they made, which is expected to guide the NDC's internal elections going forward. Because one of our viewers, Professor Stephen Kwekwasari, good evening to you, is watching us somewhere in the world. He says that maybe the lack of inducement may have just also influenced this low voter turnout. That people didn't get the kind of cash
Alfred, that's a valid point.
They got. Is Professor Stephen Kwekwasari. It's
an interesting point.
It's very interesting indeed.
Yeah, I mean, just to pick off first on the bit about the majority's conduct. I think the NDC, some soul searching would have to be done. I think there was something a bit untidy about how they handled the aftermath of it, especially the majority caucus. I thought that statement was a bit in a rush, especially because at the time the statement was issued, the party had indicated that an investigative committee had been set up. You recall the majority leader was a part of that committee. Now, when the majority caucus now issued a statement, the majority leader now stepped outside that investigative committee. All of that was a bit of in a rush and a bit untidy. But, I mean, in the aftermath of that, the party structures basically went down there to Ayawaso East in full support of Baba Jamal. I don't know whether more or less to say what Dr. Zato was saying, humble pie. I mean, basically to make the point that it does appear that they've put that behind them.
So the humble pie has been eaten already.
Exactly. I mean, they virtually they stood by him. They stood with him to ensure that he's been elected as the party's candidate, and he's going to Parliament now to represent the people of Ayawaso East in Parliament on the ticket of the NDC. So I think that is an issue that they can easily put it behind them. And Baba Jamal, like we trace this history, the kind of battles he's been through, all in his quest to enter Parliament and even leaving Parliament and all of that. I think this is something that he would understand as a mature and experienced politician. He can easily put it behind him. The other issue that I wanted to pick up from Dr. Zato's comments had to do with the developmental projects. There are two views to this. There are those who make the argument that, well, potentially there's a certain race set that is taking place, and government takes the view that last-minute projects are not necessary to win such elections. Hence, the developmental projects were not taking place in that manner. There are those who would also make the point that, like Dr. Zato makes the point that, well, it's the stronghold of the National Democratic Congress, reason which they decided that they do not have to do all the things that they had to do. And if you compare what's played out in the NDC primary in terms of the kind of vote buying, mostly we see vote buying even during the main by-election. We've had many by-elections that we've seen that play out there. This by-election that we've covered, we've barely had a conversation about vote buying take place. So one would argue that
I don't know if that lends credence to Professor Stephen Koko Asari's argument about, yes, if people know they're going to get something, they'll step out, right? You know, to vote. But as for the low voter turnout, I think that we would have to interrogate that a bit further, especially because of the numbers we're seeing. It's not happened before. I mean, we're seeing possibly less than 50% of the almost 50,000 registered voters in this Ayawaso East constituency not coming out to vote. All the multiple factors we've been talking about since we started this coverage, which may have influenced this low voter turnout, would have to be interrogated individually and singularly about the period that we are in. How did the Ramadan period influence the voter turnout? How did also the fact that, look, I mean, this is a weekday also influence the voter turnout? How did the notion that already this is an NDC stronghold, and so whether you like it or not, whatever the turnout might be, they would eventually win? How did that also influence the voter turnout that we're seeing right now? Because, look, this is a democratic exercise. And the fact that we have traced a trend that consistently by-elections have low voter turnout, how do we turn that around? Should the Electoral Commission be looking at putting the dates for by-election at a weekend where people are not going to work and they can turn up to vote? But if you look at the topography and the makeup of this constituency, Ayawaso East has a lot more entrepreneurs. I mean, if you go to Nima, okay, you have a lot of people who own their own businesses. They have the luxury of leaving the business to come and vote. There had to be a motivation to move them to leave their shops and come and vote. We would also have to look at all of that as to how all those played out in the low voter turnout that we are seeing right now. If it was a typical cosmopolitan area where you have a lot more corporate people who leave the constituency to work outside of the constituency, then the bit about it being a working day would have a maximum impact. But knowing this constituency and the number of people who own their own business and run their own businesses there, we may have to expand the focus of our analysis of what influenced this low voter turnout to beyond just it being a working day and then the Ramadan period, right? And look at other factors.
Absolutely. But I mean, the Electoral Commission official that we spoke to makes the point that the numbers are very, very low. I mean, an extension of the arguments that Alfred, you make, and there are those who have also made that suggestion strongly. Do we even need to organize a by-election anytime we lose a member of parliament? There are those who have made that argument quite strongly that we could find a means of simply allowing the political party that has lost its member of parliament to simply go over. And there's some data that at some point we can share with our viewers. And the data shows generally that more than 70% the seat is retained by the political party that lost it. It's only about 20%, a little about 20% that the seat flips. They have been very significant
for instance,
ones.
will be the latest.
The Akwetia one is an example of that. More often than not, the seat stays with the party that has lost it anymore, and we have it here. I mean, it's on the screen.
I guess until
we
right change the
total seats retained 27, total party flips 8. So 77.1% is the retention rate. The flip rate is 22.9%. And so one would ask the question that must we go through all of this, especially some of the very, very acrimonious and conflict and violence-filled elections that we've had, Talensi, Chirponi, all those areas. Do we need to go through all of that? And the likelihood is that the party that holding on to the seat will win it anyways. And with today's results also coming out, this would even improve a bit more slightly. So that's another conversation that we can have. But the purists who believe in democracy on its all forms may say that, well, we voted for them. And why do we want to limit it to the political party? Because, mind you, there are two things that they are voting for. There's a candidate who is on the ticket of a political party, and you are voting for that candidate. It does not mean that it's an extension of a right for that political party alone. Because potentially, a new candidate will be presented by the same political party, and the voters may reject that candidate. And so they would say that just still go back to the people and let the people decide. But the numbers show that the people increasingly are retaining the candidates. Maybe it is something that, Kemini, you want to bring in, Dr. Zato, at this point in time.
It is on that narrative you see in Akwetia. Akwetia, the NPP, had their candidate, lost, they changed their candidate. The NDC also changed their candidate, right? The lawyer of the 2024 candidate became the candidate for the by-election, who is now a member of parliament, by the way. So the dynamics obviously favors the decision that the party takes going forward. And we heard from Baba Ali, Kem, and he confirmed the debate we were having earlier, and then also the party's director of elections for the Greater Accra region also did confirm the fact that they went through a process before Baba Ali was elected, right? So looking at his showing in this by-election, they would look at whether to retain him in 2028 because he hasn't had a bad showing. But then again, that will be influenced by whether or not the voter turnout, if it was otherwise, as in you had a lot more people coming out, the performance would have been the same. As against within this period that you didn't have so many people turning up, but Baba Ali polled just about some 30% of the valid vote cast today. Kem.
Absolutely, and gentlemen, I probably the two of you sped up a little bit with the conversation. I want to run back to that issue of the majority caucus because I hold a very different view because I do not believe in head mentality, and that incident of what appeared to be conflict for me was good for the party, especially because they were able to rally back as the majority caucus and support Baba Jamal subsequently. What that tells me is that, look, if you're doing wrong, they can tell you you're doing wrong. Not all of them may agree that you're doing wrong, but as long as they can tell you and still come together as a party, that is good conflict. And maybe that is what may have happened in this case. But it doesn't stop Baba Jamal from also holding his chin up high. On the day he goes to Parliament, on the day he goes to Parliament to be sworn in and he has to caucus with his party members or party folk on the majority side. But back to the point where we brought the conversation so far. Do we need a by-election all the time? And look at us, it's 9:55. If you're still on radio, it's 392.7 FM. On TV, it is TV3. 9:55, we don't have results yet. Dr. Zato, should we continue to invest in by-elections or we should start to change our laws around that?
No. We should always have a by-election when the unfortunate happens, when this happens. There's a reason for that. We are practicing representative democracy. It's not a Athenian democracy. It's not a direct democracy. Factors change, circumstances change. The sovereign will of the people must always be done. They chose this candidate based on certain factors and certain reasons. If the candidate is no more, they should be given the option to take another bite at it. So as for how we choose it, no matter what, no matter the cost, no matter what, we chose democracy. And it must always be done, the will of the people. Anything else will be an imposition on them. And we don't want to begin doing that. Because, see, before you do that, then we start looking for shortcuts to our democracy. They want to say, why even organize an election at all? Why don't we just get some people to sit in a room and say, hey, let's make Kameni the president? The moment you begin to take shortcuts in this solemn duty and responsibility of democracy, you don't know where you end. So I believe that no, it's an election. Let us always go out and do it. We can talk about when the results are released. And there's something you realize, mostly. Winning candidates are always quick to release their results because it's in their favor. Losing candidates never release their results or don't always want to release their results. It's not because they don't have them. We saw this in 2016. We saw this in 2020. Then we saw it in 2024. And now in this primary, we are seeing it again. When you are winning, you want the whole world to see your numbers, see your figures. When you are losing, how do you come and publish that I'm losing? But it's not because the parties do not tally their numbers. It's not because the parties do not have the figures. They do. Any political party that tells you the candidate is not true. The reason they are not coming to release them is because it's just a confirmation that the other guy has won. So they don't release them sometimes because they know the numbers are not good. The figures are not good. Come in and think about it. When you were in school, when you were in primary school, when you went and you had 100%, you wanted everybody to see. When I was in primary school, I would raise in the class and say, copy, like look at it and copy. Because you did good. If you go 0, you don't want anybody to look at it and copy. You hide it. So that is another thing we must look at. Political parties not releasing their results doesn't mean that they don't know how to collate, they don't know how to go on it. They're just not releasing it because they're losing. Okay, so those are the two things. Secondly, then we can ask the AEC, what are they still doing? Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're testing out a new reporting system, well, we can then give them a little bit of room and say, look, test it and let's see. But I don't know why or what could be the problem why they have not released the results. That goes back to the technology or the competence or otherwise of the EC. That is a totally separate thing we can talk about. But the fact that we have to do it must be. Alfred was talking about doing it on the weekend. I think the date is supposed to be done. All those are legal issues. And that the EC on its own cannot just decide a date different from what is stipulated. And that's what I want to think. But if that's the case, then we could give the EC a leeway that if it's a by-election, then you can choose the nearest weekend. For instance, that's something we could say. Now, the question about the weekend then raises some questions. Remember that there are some Christian groups that abhor holding elections on Saturdays. That means that you're only looking at Sundays. So these things are coming. In order not to make this and let sleeping dogs lie, we should keep it like this. Because we can overthink the very, very poor, low turnout in Ayawaso East, or we can overthink it. We can underthink it, overthink it. What I want is that we shouldn't take the lazy, simple, readily explanations for the low turnout, but we should go deeper and try to find out what actually could be the cases. Maybe they are telling us they are hiding more than they are showing, and that is where we could then use, both political parties could use that.
Well, Dr. Zato, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for talking to us. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
You. I'm going back to my doom, so good night.
Dr. Joshua Jabunte Zato is a political analyst, and we've just heard his take from your election command center on the Ayawaso East by-election. And we brought you some live look from there as well, because the crowd is growing on the outer perimeter of the St. Kizito's Catholic Church, which is the collation center for this particular election. And there it is, more live pictures from there. People are gathered, supporters, I believe, of the winning candidate, and onlookers from the neighborhood are gathered there for the final and official declaration of Baba Jamal as the winner of this race. The last time we checked in with Mawena inside the inner perimeter of St. Kizito Collation Center, he told us that there's been improvement in the numbers, about 108 polling centers had been officially validated and had been included in the Electoral Commission's tabulation of the results for this by-election. We also saw the winning candidate himself, Baba Jamal, in the company of his entourage, seated, waiting on the Electoral Commission patiently to call them and declare him winner of the race, which will then kickstart a whole new process leading him to his time in Parliament. But in the meantime, look outside. The people gathered in pockets having conversations. I believe earlier there were reports of music as well behind the police barricade. Obviously, the police has told us that they will continue to keep security tight until the very last word is set for this by-election, and they are doing exactly that. We see the police there manning the area leading into what they now refer to as the inner perimeter of the collation center. So all jubilations from supporters and onlookers will be done on the outside of the collation center. Without accreditation, you wouldn't have access to the inside where the collation is being done. And so there will be some conversations being had. Let's connect now with Mawena Egbeta, who is Christian Yale, who is in the outer perimeter of the St. Kizito's Collation Center, where you're seeing these live pictures now. Christian, what can you tell us?
Scores of people who have gathered here outside the Collation Center when you get to the St. Kizito Catholic Church, just a few meters. Onlookers waiting for the final declaration from the Electoral Commission. Already I can tell you that right from the Nima roundabout, there are sound systems that have been stationed to await the declaration for these hundreds of party supporters to jubilate and to dance to the tunes to be played right after the declaration. In fact, when you get here, they are waiting with bated breath, and you realize that the police have mounted barricades to more or less prevent these party supporters from entering the inner perimeter, the collation center, the core where the final count and calibrations are ongoing to put together the final figures. Kemini, just like you indicated, at the last count, looking at the provisional figures that have trickled in so far, the NDC candidate, Baba Jamal, has been in the lead. We know that he's clocked a little over 60% in the numbers that we've seen so far. Just a while ago, I saw the formed police unit actually move out the anti-riot shield that were packed in some boxes. And already you see that these supporters are already waving a t-shirt that has Baba Jamal's photo and his name printed in there. But the other bit is about security. Coming in, you realize and reckon that the Ghana Police Service and their presence has been so much felt just outside the collation center. And like I indicated earlier, when you are moving all the way from the Nima roundabout towards this collation center, you have a number of buses of the formed police unit that are parked over there. And then also, Kemini, let me show you something here. When I take you a little down here, I'm just about to show you one of the riot control vehicles of the Ghana Police Service that has been stationed just outside to also ensure that there is law and order. And so even before this election would take place, you would see the IGP lead police officers to undertake a march through the principal street of Nima, which tells you about how prepared the police were in ensuring that there is law and order so far as this election or by-election is concerned. And so there you have it in your short. Kemini, that is the vehicle I was talking about. But I would seek to engage few of the watchers here or party supporters who have gathered here to wait or await the final declaration. Let me see if I can engage few of them briefly to get to know their expectations. We know that already the NDC candidate is in the lead, but it is worth also getting to know from the supporters and those who have gathered here to get to know exactly what they have to say. I know that, or let me ask you, for how long have you been around waiting for the final declaration of the results?
About 5 hours now.
You've been here about 5 hours. Are you an NDC member?
Yeah, me an NDC member. This John Abringer from NDC.
Yes. From NDC.
Yeah, party office.
We know that already your candidate, Baba Jamal.
92.
All right, so we know that the EC is yet to finally declare, but we know from the result that I've trickled in so far, your candidate is in the lead. How happy are you?
Yeah, I'm happy to say my candidate is leading. So I know it's winning. We are waiting for results. For the jubilation, so that we can now we jubilate long term. We don't say we win the seat. MP can never win here. MPP can never win Nima seat. Unless NDC.
So you don't say that they're deciding to join this contest was a dead mission from the start?
Like me, I'm from NDC. I for draw this election. I will not go because this Nima seat, it belongs to NDC. We will take this seat since 92. So we continue to take this seat forever. MPP will never take this seat.
And I see that there are sound systems already around. Are you ready or preparing to jubilate or to dance?
Oh, why not? We are very, very much prepared. That's why we are still hanging around. We are just waiting for them to declare him as a winner. And then off we take it from there. Yes, that's why we are still hanging around.
I mean, before this election even, there have been a whole lot of controversies and issues surrounding your party primary and issues of vote buying, Baba Jamal, he being recalled from his position as the High Commissioner to Nigeria and whatnot. How do you look at his victory or yet to be announced victory in this by-election, and why do you think he is exonerated in one way or the other?
Whatever God has ordained, it might come to pass. There's no any election in Ghana here that there's no any money sharing or maybe a gift giving. You understand? It's already ordained to win. There's nothing anything can do about it. We are happy for his victory. He has fought a very great fight and he deserves to win. Nobody can contest him. Looking at the primaries to today, the president has the right to take him out from the position. That one is no doubt about that.
So already we've seen the NPP candidate concede defeat. This speaks about how mature our body politic has become. What commendation do you have for the other Baba for conceding defeat and deciding to throw in the towel to allow the process to continue? We know that this process since morning has been very peaceful. Would you commend him for that action?
Yeah, it's very, very, very commendable, and it's good for our democracy. Because there's no way that he can fight Baba Jamal. For him also conceding defeat, it's good for our democracy, and I recommend him for that. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Kemini, let me just seek to engage a few more of the supporters who have gathered here. But it is very interesting. We know that ever since the election started, one thing that came up largely was about the voter turnout. In fact, from the early hours of this election, voter turnout was said to be low. However, you would want to comment how peaceful this has been over the period. Me to me say why a crowd say obesa na obedi asanso because we candidate na win anya sir.
Me candidate ni na win Baba Jamal. You the radio say we win.
Mpunto be na person who say obeda na di abra ya to aba man say onko di mani mo mra hye bedwam.
Oh so we boy obeboa youth. Obeboa bia anu ntina ye won echi. So be boy why
Baba Jamal, Mbwano was started that. We be ni office or Kandaiwi. Or my loans are interest free. No interest. Obianya ma first. After that, husbands. Wayama yanya obianya. Enunti na yewo jide wo ni muse. Oba. Yabenya ni ayeshishe. Inti na yewo tima. Honorable lawyer Baba Jamal.
Now he mentions that when you want to talk about lobbying and embarking on developmental agenda, Baba Jamal has already initiated some of that by ensuring that residents get to receive or get some loans to undertake their businesses. Now, I see that you already have this drum you're holding. It means that you are very much prepared to jubilate after the EC had finally declared. When did you know at the same?
Oh, manager no de abroso. Ana yanim say ya Baba Jamal. What we need that in advance no what can we need that. Ana ya sabe to amanu. Enti wa usha hunter bia okofuma. On me say definitely Baba ko tunambiti okwa on fan sampan ko. Enu ti na ekute ya di Baba ji ani. Yeah.
Mo beji money amade achi.
Ya beji ani sama ade achi.
Wallahi.
Talai. Because ya twen ache. Ana yanim say ya papa no so ade wa wi ni awie. Ana obi no musu wo mu no yeto mu fo ma ntie. Na mu fi say ebe kondanda. Bibia wo. Ana nyame adum ntu bibia ya okay. Ya nya wi ni de. Ya wi ni awie.
So he says that they had even anticipated the victory, but I see that the police gradually are moving out some of the gadgets that they use, the anti-riot shields that they use. Those are some of them in the bag that you see on that gentleman moving further down there. And it just also presupposes that all is in order and all is well. Let me engage senior man here. For how long have you been here observing this process, and how soon do you even want the EC to declare results?
Oh, I think I've been here for quite a long time, but for the clearing of the results is not something that they should be in, hurry to declare, because they need to compile it, and those who are witness need to also be satisfied. At the same time, the candidate that stood also need to be, before anything can come out. So they don't just, get up and say they have got some certain percentage, so they are declaring for.
But you see, talking about this, conversations over the period have been that as a country, looking at the stage we've gotten to, we should move from manually collating results to having our results compiled electronically, so that as the results are computed, we see the update, we see the collation even happen. How do you encourage electoral commissioner? What would you want the EC to do going forward so that we don't get to waste much time in collating results?
I think it's a good question, but we are not gotten up to that, point, because we tried some time ago, and I think you, the media, can witness that that time the chairman of the EC told us that the system has been compromised, and it created a whole lot of chaos in the system. But at the end of the day, they switched from the digital to the manual. That let them also, find a good results for us. So I think if we have the mechanism to do that, I think, why not?
All right, thank you so much. So, Kamini, let me just give you an aerial view of the numbers here, and even as we count down to that final declaration. And so there you have it, numbers here at the St. Kizito Catholic Church in Nima. And indeed, like many have told you, they've been here for hours. They just want to hear from the horse's mouth that Baba Jamal has been declared winner of this by-election. The other bit is about numbers in Parliament, because you know that as it stands, the NPP, the Minority Caucus, has 87 numbers in Parliament, and then you have the majority side having 188. And so with this, it means that it adds one more number to the majority's numbers to give them about 189, just so extending their lead or their majoritarian lead in Parliament. And so it brings to fore the dynamics that we want to see concerning the numbers as it plays out in Parliament. But I realize that there are some women here who really want to engage me. Kamini, you may want to pardon me as I engage them. But then up so come.
Ma vote mi spese yen frede ya fre da yani police for ye dina aden obi mu wo yiri obi mu onkola omu fre den omu twambio
no bi ka say e was so amoto amobo ekeka numbers ni bom so that omu wie na eba obi abeji atum say de wa wini awini de wa luzu
ye den kura ye start vote na obehu levels ya ekọ baba Jamal wa fa be bia.
What's the money police for Jina Hache?
Fito Martina ba ye so re didi ammi ansa na ye hu omudi kaba ye area o abenasi wallahi mi do nyami still omo ba omudina aden
ento pese
school ba ye me sa omo ohumi mi kunu susu ohumi mi do nyami.
Okay, ento pese about your commissioner obo ba ntem Wallahi odoyame wallahi enti omo pese no, I'm not on I'm on TV3. They want the Electoral Commission to swiftly collect the results and give out its final verdict. Let me see, you are a candidate or an agent for which of them?
I'm an agent for the National Democratic Congress.
An agent for the NDC. What has been your observation so far of the election across this constituency?
So far, it has been a very smooth process, a very successful one for that matter. No violence was recorded, even though when you come to Nima, we've never recorded an election violence. So it's something to be proud about. I also want to use your medium to also congratulate His Excellency Lawyer Baba Jamal for this enormous victory, even though the EC has not declared officially, but we have made our 63 point something plus. So in the projection of the EC, we are expecting something similar or above, but not something below. Yes, so.
All right, thank you. What's your name?
My name is Bawa Idrisu. I'm part of the Youth Working Committee of the NDC.
All right, thank you. But I see that this madam already has smeared her face with some powder, which indicates that she is a mood ahead of the final declaration by the Electoral Commission. We know that, and talking about that, Kemini, maybe as I hold on to our broadcast from the outside perimeter to wait the final verdict from the Electoral Commission, I remember that when an inter-party advisory committee meeting, IPAC meeting, was held recently concerning that, what we know was talked about was the EC's readiness to pilot an electronic collation process. And they were going to start the piloting phase here at Ayawaso East so that when the result begins, you really have to get a lot of the human interferences here and there that usually cause the delay. I know that when you go to the University of Ghana, for instance, during the Student Representative Council, there is a that displays the result even as they trickle in. But with that, you reckon that one of the people I've spoken with mentioned system being compromised. So it brings to the fore the other issue or conversation about the security of the system or the IT softwares that would be used in undertaking this electronic collation. And so all of those are some of the issues that I believe going forward would want to tackle and look at so that as early as elections are close, would have the result equally collated in time. But as it were, security is tight here at the St. Kizito Catholic Church, the outside perimeter. Party supporters and viewers or fans are here awaiting the final verdict, and right after that they would descend into heavy jubilation. But you see this gentleman, for instance, look at the powder. Now powder you if he
it was a jubilant powder that was poured on me. In fact, I didn't know before I could say Jack. It was poured over me.
Before you could say Jack, it was poured on you. Who poured it on you, and why did he pour on you?
The fans of His Excellency Baba Jamal was being the right-hand man of His Excellency Baba Jamal. They saw me and they were like, wow, they were jubilating, rushing onto me. In fact, I tried to escape, but they managed to pour these things onto me.
Please, who are you?
I am Musa Ali.
Do you have any portfolio in the party, in the constituency?
Yes, I'm the constituency communication officer. Okay. And I double also as the right-hand man to His Excellency Baba Jamal.
Baba Jamal.
Yes.
I understand it. Okay, maybe congrats in advance. We'll get back to you. So Kamini, you hold the fort over there. We are waiting for the final declaration, and after which we'll bring you all the jubilant scenes. Again, you see the police anti-riot shield being taken out. What it means is that sooner than later, the EC would bring to the end the coalition process. I hope Eric is also monitoring what is unfolding inside that perimeter or that crucial area, and we'll bring you all the live interactions, all the actions as they unfold here around the St. Kizito Catholic Church. Christian Yale with John Nipens. Back to you in studios.
Christian, thank you so much for showing us live pictures from the outer perimeter of the St. Kizito Collation Center. It's now about 5 hours, 23 minutes since polls closed today in the Ayawaso East constituency. This is our constituency here at Media General. In a tad, we should go to the inner perimeter and show you some live looks from there as well, because that is where the declaration will take place. We'll find out from Mawena how close we are to that moment when the official declaration of Baba Jamal as the winner of the race is done. In the meantime, I've been joined by the gentleman in the studio. I am now very tired of waiting because, I mean, we are now heading into the 6th hour since the polls closed. The Electoral Commission has been counting, has been collating and tabulating for all these hours, and we're still here for an election that's a by-election, so to speak, that perhaps even less than 50% people or the voter roll showed up for. But we are here. We're doing our jobs. I don't know how you feel about it, but I am incensed.
We feel the pain, and that, what you've been talking about all the while, was echoed by the constituents we just spoke to. The level of frustration that they expressed at the Electoral Commission. I think that we don't have to mince words in asking the Electoral Commission to come and explain to us exactly what goes into this process of collation. Because this is a by-election that, from what we have seen, the turnout is just above 10,000 as against the registered total voter population of almost 50,000. So imagine if almost all the 50,000 registered voters in this constituency turned up to vote today. Then we'll probably be waiting for the results till maybe 3 a.m., 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. If just 10,000, and I say because...
Not that they haven't done that to us before.
Absolutely. And you see, I think there's some clarity that we need, to be honest. What exactly is keeping the Electoral Commission this long in declaring the results? We don't have to go ahead. We don't want us to really go ahead of ourselves but we're just asking questions.
And because, that question is really important.
Over 10,000 as against a voter population of over almost 50,000. And then you have just about 10,000 turning up. And it's taking what? They started from 5 p.m.
We're in the 6th hour. We're going in the 6th hour of waiting for election results.
And this is what we saw in Akwetia, is it not? around the
and
same
even
time.
before then, we've seen it over and over again. The Electoral Commission does not think that they owe us, or, you know, the leadership of the Electoral Commission does not think that it owes us answers when we question why our election continues to delay. And quite frankly, nobody outside of us here questions them enough about the delays. And so we continue to see it election after election. Because I don't understand why we're still here at this time for a by-election. And Alfred, you're giving us the numbers that 10,000 people or a little over 10,000 people showed up for. Why? What are we counting? Grains of rice or sand?
And significantly, I drove through the Ayawaso East constituency this morning. Virtually the polling stations are close to each other. It's not one of those constituencies where you would have to traverse, cross rivers and all those things. It's just a small area. People are voting just within different parts of the area. And increasingly, this is where we are now. And it's been that sort of inefficiency that has been playing out at least 2 election cycles. And we saw it play out first in 2020, then in 2024. You recall Techiman South, it was a coalition center. That's where it happened. In fact, 2024 got to the lowest level such that the commission could not even complete collation at collation centers, such that they had to even do some here at the police training school in Accra, Tesano. They even did some at the EC headquarters itself. They will tell you that the process was scuttled. But the fact of the matter is that 4 hours into the close of polls, after the close of polls, they were still counting, they were still collating, they were not done with the collation. No one can convince me as to why we vote here at a polling station, the ballot papers are taken out, the sorting is done, they count, they fill the poll that they're supposed to fill, what is called a pink sheet. We normally christen a pink sheet, is filled, then various tally, everything is done. You give a copy to in fact, it is the copy, the carbon copy underneath, that's what the political parties actually obtain. So the parties get that same copy. And as at 3 hours ago, the NDC were virtually done. You spoke to the MPP as well. The MPP was equally done with its collation in real time. The EC, as at now, and one can make all the arguments that they are not using electronic transmission, they are doing manual, whether it is manual or it's electronic. The fact is that it is past 10 p.m. Polls closed at 5 p.m. Less than 20,000 voters. We cannot still be collating at this pace. And these are the questions that, you see, the political parties, they've taken their fate into their own hands. They don't wait for the EC anymore.
Yeah.
That is how come Dr. Bawumia woke up one morning when a lot of us were, some of us were even gone over the night and were now coming to work and said that he has considered defeat. They are not waiting for the Electoral Commission anymore.
Yeah. And
they
that's
have their own systems.
Did you see? I don't think that this frustration that we are echoing, because we even had the constituents themselves re-echo what you have been talking about, Kamini, for quite a while now. We started asking for some level of information, at least at every pace, from the Electoral Commission. About 2-3 hours ago, we've been consistent about it. Nobody is asking that accuracy be sacrificed for speed.
Absolutely.
I don't think that that's what we're all asking for, or that's what the constituents are asking for. No. Accuracy is important. We appreciate the crucial role that the Electoral Commission plays in this, so that the accuracy must be utmost and it must be the topmost priority for the Commission. But you'd also balance that with this period that we have seen. If you were having a low voter turnout like this, and you have this long period, you'd have to explain to us. Bring us up to speed with the processes, so that when the next time we have a by-election, we will just condition our minds that if the voter turnout is about 30,000, 40,000, we might bring some changeover clothing, you know, and then we know that this is how we are running it. You see, there has to be something, because the Akwatia by-election had over 30,000, close to 40,000 turnout. We had the declaration around this time, around 10:30 thereabout. It's 10:30 now. if you have a by-election with voter turnout of almost 11,000, and we're still having the same waiting period, maybe there's something the commission is doing we don't know. But they have to they have to bring us up to speed.
We heard from an official of the commission, and I was making a point earlier when I was talking to Kemini that it was even worrying for me because he did not even seem to appreciate that they are delaying. When Marina asked him the question that it does appear that they were taking too long to collate the results, he said, like, how is anyone concluding that they are doing that bad? I mean, they've made progress. This at the time that they are done 49 out of then 113 polling stations. At the time that the MPP and the NDC had crossed more than 100 already, they are done 49. We are in 2026. All what you need, we can, and we did it here during Akwatia, right here during Akwatia elections. We have a laptop with an Excel in there. Electoral Commission, your officials scan the document and send it. It does not necessarily have to be what the sort, because mind you, whatever results they'll be declaring are provisional results anyways. But the point being made is that those results have been signed on to by the political parties, and we cannot keep on making the excuses that the legal framework has created those bottlenecks, because the point being made is that if you have to first admit there's a challenge and make the necessary amendments or relevant constitutional instruments in place to meet the modern times. We don't have to, in 2026, wait for the hard copy to be taken. I remember there was one election that I covered 2016, somewhere in Omina. They are waiting for the EC official to bring the ballot, the boxes, and the gentleman cannot be found. And they are calling him on the phone and looking for him. Now, where is he? We're in 2026. There are so many ways that we can use technology effectively. And the EC told us today that they were using technology. In fact, they've not even explained to us the extent of the technology that is being deployed today or what the impact will be. Because I would have thought that perhaps even if you are doing the manual tabulation that you already do by waiting for the actual papers and everything to come, they could have at least been doing a projection where the ones that they are using the electronic system, it will be a parallel projection that would have been there, so that at least would have been seen on our screens via our reporters who are there that some progress is being made. What were the pitfalls that were realized upon implementation, so that we can all improve upon it? I think our turnaround time as a nation is very bad.
Very poor.
The Electoral Commission needs to be up and doing. I mean, sorry, we are not being too hard on them. We are only being fair to them at this point in time. It's a by-election that has taken place. 2 hours ago, I was urging caution, but 2 hours on, I think it's bad.
It's terrible how they are keeping us waiting. And, you know, I also want to make the observation of the system they are using, that in this day and age, after this same country has spent millions in upgrading the Electoral Commission and having an IT department, which they tell us is very up to speed with the happenings of technology in this world, that is Excel sheets that we rely on. And we are not talking about Excel sheet being the backbone of any software they have created in the IT department to use to fast track what we are doing. But it's just the raw Excel sheets, the base software that they have projected on their screen for us to look at. And so it would seem that when we invest in the Electoral Commission, and this goes beyond Jean Mensah, when we invest in the Electoral Commission, our money does not end up in some of the right places. We have done a lot of hardware investment. Some of the money maybe didn't go into building our own software. And I'm not talking about going to a third party to get us that. We have people at the Electoral Commission, we are told, who could do that. Why are we not doing it? Why are we relying on that raw Excel sheet and projecting that? It doesn't speak well of our development as a people, that is what we are doing. And I don't know if they are helping themselves with some shortcuts in Excel so that they can move fast, because at this point I can't tell what the commission is capable of doing with computers.
And Alfred, maybe you want to come in at this point, because there's a genuine risk that we are playing with.
Absolutely.
The genuine risk is in situations where the election is very close and people are agitated, and the political parties, for some reason, they've seen the results, but they've decided that, well, this is an opportunity for them to do their own things at the coalition center. You have people massing up there. You heard one of the women say over there that she said that the husband has not seen her all day. And another person was saying that, well, she can't go because they want to leave knowing that Baba Jamal has been declared as a winner. That is what they want to know. And you've seen people there. These are all people who did not start off their day there. A lot of them would have started from polling stations. Some would have been polling agents for political parties, for candidates. They would have gone through all that level. They are done there 5 hours ago, hoping that they are just going to come to the central point for it to be done and dusted. I mean, the Jamboree has started, by the way.
They have to. I mean, now they cannot wait anymore. There are those who would also begin to ask the question, okay, why are they there? It's a matter of choice. They can be in their homes and still watch TV3. They will know who has won. But look, it's a matter of their investment emotionally into this. Okay, so we cannot fault them for being there. It's part of our democracy, and so let's hear them now. This is the Jamal of the people. They cannot wait for the Electoral Commission before they jubilate. Already, they have heard the projections by the political parties themselves. You see, you cannot fault them for jubilating because even the NPP candidate has come to congratulate Baba Jamal, right? So they know who is winning. It's only for the Electoral Commission to just come and certify what we have projected and what the NPP itself has accepted and then also moved on already. Okay, so that's what we're seeing playing out now this at the outskirts of the Coalition Center, St. Kizito Catholic Church. This is the place where all the constituents in the Ayawaso East constituency are looking to hear from the Electoral Commission what the official declaration will be of who has been elected the Member of Parliament for the Ayawaso East constituency. And if this person will represent the constituents in this 9th Parliament. This is the second by-election in this 9th Parliament, all as a result of the death of the incumbent members of Parliament, unfortunately. But then again, with what we are seeing now, with the first one, there was a flip. The Akwatia flipped from MPP to NDC. But this time around, where the Ayawaso East constituency, there's been a retention. The NDC has retained that seat from the projections or the provisional results that we have seen, and has also been confirmed by the NPP candidates themselves. That's the candidate and the party themselves, and then the other candidates as well, the LPG, and then the 2 independent candidates. Dr. Kwame Asasante is joining us on Zoom, Kem, maybe drawing him in on the conversation about the turnaround time, because polls closed at 5 p.m. and the voter turnout we have seen, based on what the Electoral Commission officials themselves have indicated, was a really low voter turnout. Registered voters of almost 50,000, and we have a voter turnout of just a little over 10,000, and yet we're having to wait this long for an official declaration. It's almost 11 p.m. Dr. Kwame Asasante, do you share the same concern about the turnaround time with the Electoral Commission now, with this specific situation that we're dealing with in the Ayawaso East constituency, looking at the low voter turnout that the EC themselves have confirmed that just a little over 10,000 out of the almost 50,000 registered voters, and yet from 5 p.m. up until now, we're still having to wait for the official declaration of the results?
Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm surprised that we are in such quagmire, because one would have thought that, given the fact that we have very few numbers, we expect that we should have been done by now. But I don't know what's happening. But that said, the issue of low voter turnout is not news. If you watch, by-election generally, you realize that enthusiasm, participation in such election is very low, for the simple reason that people tend to pay more attention to national elections. So once that one is over, the rest is history. So that is what is playing out, and we are witnessing that.
I see, but at least that has been confirmed. We established the trend in the voter turnout in by-elections, and today there's been some multiple factors that could be the reason why we're seeing this low voter turnout. But there's been proposals as well that, for instance, having the election on a weekday, you have a lot more people who will go to work, obviously, over and above a decision to stay at home and then queue to vote. We're in the Ramadan season as well. This is a predominantly Muslim community. That may have also influenced the low voter turnout we're seeing. And then also the fact that this is an NDC stronghold. There was that foregone conclusion that NDC was going to win anyways. Which other factors do you think may have influenced this low voter turnout outcome we're seeing?
Apart from what you have said, I believe that general loss of interest in parliament by-elections is the main factor, apart from what you have said. Because if people believe that they are done with general election, by-election doesn't mean much to them, especially when one party has a lot of seats in parliament. It doesn't change the chemistry at all. So that is that. Another thing also is the fact that once you are dealing with a stronghold, you can put in all your efforts, but unless something dramatic happens, you are not going to win. And parties, if you look at the situation also in Parliament, the numbers of the NDC, the opposition will not want to put in so much, and they want to reserve the little resources that they have and prepare towards general elections. So it's a whole lot of factors that have come to play on this very election.
But this is a constituency that the NDC has won since its creation. But the NPP so decided that, look, it is going to inure to their benefit not to participate, but rather participate and then test the mettle and influence the strength of their candidate. They changed their candidate who contested in 2024. They brought a new face to this by-election. From what we are seeing now, this candidate may poll, all things being equal, something in the region of 30 to 35% of the valid vote cast, which is consistent with the party's performance in the constituency. What's the big takeaway you think the NPP should be looking at going into election 2028?
I think that given the fact that they have poor showing in that area, they should begin to build capacity there. They should begin to undertake programs that are of great interest to the people and begin to win souls into the party so that they will be counted the next time there is election. Because take it or leave it, that place, even though it's an NDC stronghold, it is one of the, it's a seat in Accra. And you know how important Accra seats are, even though I acknowledge the fact that every seat is important. But there are some which are extremely important when you are talking about the scheme of things of elections. So I believe that they should be able to build themselves to be very attractive. What can they do? They need to go out in there, undertake a study, and look at their strengths and weaknesses, and then decide to work towards dealing with some of their weaknesses. That is the only way that they can bridge the gap and then possibly try to annex that seat.
For the NDC, there are a number of factors at play. This is a candidate who is not new to the dynamics of the politics of this country. Alhaji Baba Jamal is an experienced politician. He's represented, this is the second constituency he's going to represent, and he's taking on the path of just a few people who have been able to represent two constituencies in different regions, from Akwatia now to the Greater Accra region, right? One, and that's the second point as well, is the fact that after these primaries that elected him, you observed a number of the things that happened, the party's position, and eventually the reforms that they say they're going to implement to ensure that the fallout from that primaries is not repeated. He's going to go into parliament. He is polling something in the region of between 63 to 65% of the valid vote cast. His predecessor, I'm talking about the late member of parliament, the Honorable Toure, polled over 70% of the valid vote cast in 2024 elections. How do you expect the NDC to build on the fortunes of Baba Jamal, his experience, and his influence going into 2028 as well?
I think the party will not want to leave their guard down, because that is a safe seat for them. So in such circumstances, you want to do well to maintain that constituency at all costs. That means that where the late MPC built on or left off, Baba Jamal will take it from there and then take the conversation a notch further. It calls for hard work, it calls for dedication, and then, of course, unity of members so as to rally everybody around and then make sure that you prosecute the 2028 election with vigor and then with vision. Once you do that, then you are home and dry.
I'm going to take you back one step about the late official or declaration from the Electoral Commission. Now, what, in your view, should be the reforms that the Electoral Commission should be looking at to address this matter of the turnaround time, which is really slow, which could also pose challenges in various forms, in for instance, in a general election where the stakes are really high, the tension is high, and then you have a close and keenly contested election. What are the reforms you expect going forward in the subsequent elections to address this low turnaround time?
I believe the EC itself should be able to put premium on by-elections. Are you sure that the kind of premium they put on the general election is the same thing that was put here? I'm not too sure about that. Otherwise, we won't be in such difficulty. That said, we expect EC that they are able to plan and plan ahead so that the by-election, which doesn't require many people and logistics and all that, you start on time and then you end very early, and then you are able to count the votes and then you declare. So all that I'm saying is that they need to double their effort and also let the world know that it's also an important exercise they are conducting. And of course, it doesn't matter whether it's a stronghold for a party or not.
Right.
They should see every election as the same, and then the same of attention is given to it. Yeah.
Dr. Asante, thank you very much. We're going to cross over now to the Coalition Center. The Electoral Commission returning officer is just about declaring making the official declaration of who has been elected as the Member of Parliament for the Ayawaso East constituency. And what you were seeing on the screen was Baba Jamal having a hearty conversation with the Babali, who was the MPP candidate. They shared a hug, they held each other hand in hand, and then walked towards the cameras. We're about hearing the Electoral Commission now, the returning officer making the official declaration. Let's cross over right now.
To come forward so that they can capture for the sake of our cameras.
All of you should stay back. All of you should stay back. Can you go there? Go there.
I thought
I hope it's okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Please, can we have some silence? I can't. At the end of the voting exercise for the parliamentary by-elections for Ayawaso East Ayawaso East constituency, 5 candidates contested. The first one is Baba Jamal Ahmed, and he polled 10,884 votes. The next candidate also polled 40 votes. The second candidate, please, let me retake. There are 5 candidates who contested in the polls.
Number 1 on the ballot is Baba Jamal Ahmed, and he polled 10,884 votes. The second candidate on the ballot is Ibrahim Idrisu, and he also polled 43 votes. The third candidate on the ballot is Yusuf Ali Baba, who also polled 4,009 votes. The fourth candidate is Muhammad Umar Sanda, who also polled 1,885 votes. The fifth candidate, also an independent candidate, is Kano David, and he polled 104 votes. In all, we had 16,928 valid votes. 120 votes were rejected. And in that case, total votes cast amounts to 17,048. Looking at the just announced results, I, Samuel Mofori, the returning officer of Ayawaso East constituency, hereby announce to you your new MP-elect, Honorable Baba Jamal Ahmed. Exactly.
What is the percentage?
On this note, I hereby introduce to you your MP-elect in the name of Honorable Baba Jamal Ahmed. Congratulations, Honorable.
Honorable, TV3, just quickly. Yes. Right, Honorable, talk to us, your reaction to this victory that has come through.
In the first place, I want to thank the Almighty Allah for giving us this victory. I want to state that this victory is not for me, Baba Jamal, alone. It's for the good people of East Ayawaso. I want to thank all of them for having confidence in me and electing me as their parliamentary candidate or parliamentary candidate-elect. Let me state that I dedicate this victory to my 93-year-old mother, Mimi, for promising to support me and ensuring that one day I'll go back to Parliament. Today, her vision and wish has come true, and I thank Allah for her life, and I dedicate this victory to my mother, Mimi, and also want to thank my wife here and my family, my children, for the spirit of endurance that they've gone through since I made this project my vision to go back to Parliament. I know they've gone through a lot, and I thank them for standing beside me and supporting me all this while. I want to also give special thanks to the national executives of NDC, the chairman and the general secretary. I want to also thank the regional executives of Greater Accra. I want to also thank the constituency executives of East Ayawaso, and more so, my people from Akwetia who came in their numbers to support me for this project. I want to thank all of them. Let me also give a special thanks to the president once again for finding me worthy to go and work in Nigeria. Those few months that I stayed in Nigeria has added to my experience, which I'm taking to Parliament to serve this country better. I thank the president so much, and also want to assure the people of East Ayawaso that the resetting of East Ayawaso starts now. We are going to Parliament. We are coming to reset the whole constituency and ensure that what East Ayawaso deserves comes to pass. Thank you very much, the press, for all these weeks that you have also been chasing. For all this year that the press, you have been chasing, working with us. I understand sometimes late night that you follow us. I want to thank the press for your support. And I want to believe that I'm going to form a partnership with the press as we reset East Ayawaso. We are going to work together. Please correct us when we are wrong. But please do that in a good and proper professional way. Let me tell you one story. That today, East Ayawaso's story has been rewritten. East Ayawaso has gone through 2 elections. Our primaries went on peacefully without an incident, not even one incident of violence or criminality, not even one. Now we have had the general election and not even a single criminal or violent incident was recorded. And you, the press, will bear me witness. This tells you that we are rewriting the history of Nima. We are rewriting the history of East Ayawaso. This has been one of the most peaceful elections. And that is going to be the nature of Nima and East Ayawaso going forward. That is what we want the world to see. We want the world to see that East Ayawaso people are peaceful. East Ayawaso people are peaceful, peace-loving people. So we need to change the image that we have. I want to thank all my imams, my chiefs, and my constituency executives. That, and more so, our highly respected His Holiness, Chief Imam, Dr. Sharbutu, who also prayed for us. And I think that Allah has accepted his prayer for all of us. And today, we are on a good path. Let every member of East Ayawaso listen to me. From today, we are going to rewrite the history of East Ayawaso. In the market, on the street, in the ghettos, in the bases, there is going to be new East Ayawaso, and that is why I am here to pursue that vision, to ensure that we rebrand East Ayawaso, especially Nima, with a new face of peace, of development, of professionalism, and inshallah, we shall achieve that. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I thank all Ghanaians, those who sympathize with me in these difficult times. Those who sympathize with me, I thank everybody, especially the party grassroots, who didn't forsake me in my difficult times, who came through for me. I thank all the grassroots people. I will be there for them as they were there for me. We thank Allah, Assalamu alaikum, and to God bless you.
And that is Baba Jamal pretty much summing it all up in terms of the commentary. It's all done here, all of the guys who've been here throughout the morning. Not a lot in terms of questions as well, but he had a lot of thanks to give out to different individuals, and he ended that with the grassroots, highlighting what has been a difficult path into Parliament. Just perhaps quick thoughts, maybe. You are here, you vote in this constituency? All right, I mean, just quick thoughts as to what you made of the entire process.
Yeah, I think everything has gone on peacefully, and we thank the Most High God for what he has done today, because people were propagating that they were going to be violent here and there, but God has shown his power that he's in charge of everything, and we thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for allowing our brother Jamal to come back again to lead his constituency, and we give him congratulations, and we give praise to the Most High God. But there's a problem that we have to rectify concerning the EC. They actually did well, but the final collation, I think there was a slow pace that they really went through. But we hope next time to rectify that problem and be good.
Thank you. Thank you as well for speaking to us. And so that's about it from us. I was mentioning that last bit of Baba Jamal's statement where he highlights the difficulty he had to go through. It will be a part of the conversations that will go on from here. Obviously, one of the main headlines will be what this gentleman as well mentions, long delay, right? Near 6 hours in trying to collate election results. But that's it from us. Back to you in the studio as we wrap up coverage here on your Election Command Center.
Right on. Thank you very much. It's been a long journey, but we do appreciate you staying with us every step of the way here on your Election Command Center. Baba Jamal wins as we projected. We're back again tomorrow. I am Alfred Okonse.
I'm Joseph Akable.
And I am Kamini Amano. Thank you so much for your company. Good night.
Good night.